Sitting around the ballroom, they're talking about tomorrow when they're taking Johnny away. Said he wasn't no good, never done the things that he should. That's all the judge had to say. He went in the army when he was 18. Crazy young Irish and mean. Took a kid who was half gone all the way to be wrong with bloodlust and them 16s. His father, he thinks.
All right, we're back. We got a very special guest here tonight. By the way, this
That's
has
what
been
the doctors say.
3 years. I've been trying to get this kid on the podcast.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're here now, and it's all coming home.
It was more fun for a while to just like not do it. You
Yeah,
know,
I
to,
agree.
like try. It was like our thing. It was like our whole friendship was based on like you asking me and me being like, not right now, but
You were just the girl that got away.
yeah.
Maybe someday.
And I enjoyed it. It was like hard to get, and he was playing chase.
Yeah,
And,
I'm persistent though.
And
I'm
we like
persistent.
see each other at giggles from across the room. And have a
Will
slice.
Noonan, comedian,
That's right.
headlining the Mix on Mics. By the way, nice touch at the Wolf Tones. They put all the flyers there.
Yeah, that was cool.
I'm psyched about that.
Yeah. So
It was a blast last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's gonna
be-
be. These are the best types of shows.
it'll be
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
when COVID was going on, like this would have been the exact type of show that I would be sitting at home, like going, like I miss those days. It was, you know what I mean? For real, it was kind of like I remember before COVID being like me and Christine Hurley were kind of like, man, we're like doing a lot of these like VFW halls and like private rentals and stuff, and I don't know, and then I remember seeing her at like some drive-in movie show in the middle of COVID, and I was like, weren't we fucking idiots? Like, those were literally the best shows. Like, those are the best times we had. You know what I mean?
You never know you're in the good old days.
It's fucking true though. You know,
It is.
until they're over. But yeah, it's a good old time, man.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
show's
it's gonna be a
fun.
fucking great night. So me and Danny went to the Young Wolf Tones on Friday.
Yep.
A couple notes on that. So Derek Wolf, for people who don't know, the Wolf Tones, Derek Warfield, he
Him and his brothers had a.
complete falling out.
I don't even think
So
they've
he's
talked
like,
in like
I'm just
40
gonna fucking
years.
take my talents to South Beach, but unfortunately, like South Beach is the IA, and like fucking the Irish American, the Wolf Tones are playing like 20,000 people. Like,
Right. Well, not anymore. They're officially retired.
Yeah,
So Derek, who is, I don't know, 206 years old,
Yeah.
is still crushing it at these events.
Wow.
It is kind of something to watch.
couple things that happened that night that were unbelievable. One, so Keith, there's a guy from the Irish American we've talked about a bunch on the show. He's Irish and great guy. This guy, no, but like really Irish and like,
Dublin.
like yeah,
Like yeah.
So
Drives
like,
a white van,
So I'm like,
always covered in paint for no reason.
So last time I was with him, I think it was halfway to St. Patty's, and then we were drinking White Russians with him, and we were all fucked up. So I go, yo, and he just walks by me, and I'm like, did I fucking like say something?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I went over to him, and he's like, I didn't recognize you with the beard, and all that. We were chatting it up. They hate Derek Warfield. All the Irish guys there, they're like, fuck him. I'm like, I want to buy a hat, like support them. Like, he's like, fuck Derek Warfield. They're like, I'm like, why are you here then? They're like, because he's Irish. Like, we got to
Yeah.
support him. Like,
That's
in spite of it.
literally verbatim what
That's
they
such an
they're like,
Irish fucking
they're like, we
thing,
gotta, his exact words, and this was another guy, Al, he goes, we got to support the cunt.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
And he
we got-
said, I hate the English that much that we have to come to this. Basically.
Wow.
That's what he said.
Was Keith not at the Ugly Sweater when we Patreon party? I mean, or Ugly Sweater?
he might have.
No,
might
he
have.
was
I thought he was there.
Ugly Sweater. Yeah, he was probably there. I mean, I was there
little,
too. But
little,
With him.
little foggy. You know what I mean? Little foggy.
foggy memory.
So I saw two of the best people to ever do a thing I've ever seen it done that night. They were very different things. So the first one was Danny, who like Maggie goes, this is fucking Danny's perfect element. He's dancing around. You're the best hood Irish
It is.
dancer I've ever seen in my life.
I saw the video and I was like, this kid's bringing the ghetto.
Not
to
many
Ireland.
people can do a Wu-Tang verse and Rebel Irish songs in the same night.
Maggie goes, there was like some line, I wish I had my phone, but it's recording this. It was like some line that was in the song was like, you know, the fucking foreign soldiers brought us home with some days. Like, what a fucking jam! like he was just going nuts, right? So best hood Irish dancer of all time. Now in this band, they got like Derek, obviously the guy who was one of the founders of the Wolf Tones. And then there's like this Irish, who off air, by the way, last year, Ginty, the Irish musician, told us that he's like, oh, he's been shagging her for years. The banjo player is this woman. They have a bass player. They have a guy who plays a bouzouki.
Found out what that was
By the way,
called.
Danny goes, "Is that a mandolin?" I go, "No, it's actually an old Greek instrument called a bouzouki." And Danny goes, "Fucking Greeks!" He goes, "They got their hand in beef, and they got their hand in the fucking Irish music."
Like fucking Olympics, everything.
So
They're
they
just-
got this young kid, right, who's got the
Appetizers.
best. This young kid's got the best Irish singing voice I've ever heard. And he like, we were like, "Can we just like have him sing everything because it's fucking awesome?" And then Derek Wolfield's like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah." But then
he just talks a
there's
lot.
this guy who plays keys. He doesn't look like. It looks like they took a guy from the Wiggles and they were like, "Hey, we need you in the band." So like, it cracked me up.
That's hilarious.
Cracked me the fuck up, right? Because Maggie's like, "This guy's look." I'm an ally to every community. Everybody knows that about me. This guy's definitely gay. He's the best gay clapper that's ever lived. Like
Clapper.
he's like. And
Oh.
I'm like this guy, and then all of a sudden, so they're playing all the Fields of Athenry, all these fucking songs, right? And
That's
all
a type
rebel.
of No Irish guy though. Like the
No,
like,
you're right.
I swear this guy's got to be gay. And then he's like, "Have you met my wife and my 14 daughters?" You know what I mean? Like he's like, "This is my wife. I shag her 4 times a day." You know, and you're like, "You're the gayest man I've ever met. How is this possible?" He's wearing like a silk scarf tied around his neck.
Keep going.
He's like,
you got your
was that
He's
time-
like, "I've been an iron worker for 30 years. I've actually got rebar in my asshole right now, but I swear I love women."
So, but the proof of the pudding probably was like, so they just play all these rebel songs, right? So it's like everything. Like, "Come out, you black and tans, Fields of Athenry." Everybody's going nuts. And then like all of a sudden he's like, he takes the lead and it's like the Avicii song, like, "Till it's all over."
Oh, yeah.
Like, and I'm like, and we're all like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I feel like, I picture like Derek Wolfield be like, "We got to give him one just to
Yeah.
keep him in the band." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they had a big fight, and he was like, "I'll walk right out of here. You'll never see me again unless you let me sing one song. Just
grabs his
one
purse.
that I won't."
You need to let me sing Aloe Black, or I'm not gonna fucking come back here again.
So we were talking about so let's just go back in time. So when I was doing research for this show, I was like, what other podcasts are out there in Boston? And so then I found Soft Boys, which was you and
Andrew Del Volpe.
Andrew Del Volpe, great comedian. And I was like, "Oh, I'm all in." And next thing you know, I'm in the Patreon, right?
Yeah.
I'm like a Patreon member. Called in, left voicemails. Like I was like a fucking
Yeah, he was a good fan. You were like
fanboy
the
of
number
this fucking
one.
show. Yeah.
Still wouldn't give him the time of day at Prince Pizza. It's
Nothing.
unbelievable.
Nothing.
I gave you the time.
Yeah,
of
of course he did. Of course he did. Of course he did. Of course he did.
I mean, I didn't know who you were until halfway through the conversation. But no, I know, I did. But I remember you like being into Soft Boys, and I remember thinking that was a great thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You were starting this. You had already started or just started.
Yeah, we were already doing it.
Yeah. And I remember
I was
being
like
like,
all in.
and I was like, you guys are like the opposite of Soft Boys. We were like up there, like being like pussies, and you guys are in here in a garage drinking, and being hardball. Look at fucking Fitzy. You guys like the guy's beard is harder than anything we ever did on Soft Boys.
Hell yeah.
yeah. Also, we talked about this offline, but you texted me yesterday. You're like, "Is it okay if I'm not going to drink on the show? Because
Yeah.
I'm not like," and I'm like, "I gotta make this very clear. Like, you don't have to drink when you come on the show. You know what I mean? In fact, it's probably better when people don't drink."
the thing I've been telling people was like, it's not like even my choice. It's like I got a 4-month-old, and
Dude.
I've tried to drink, like go out, drink, and have fun 5 times since
Yeah.
the kid was born, and every fucking time the next day is such literal hell.
Yeah.
It literally
Like,
doesn't stop.
It's just not worth it. Really.
It doesn't stop. Yeah.
So like, I mean, as she grows and like goes places, like I can be like, all right, she's going to school. I can like sleep it off or do something.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm at the point now where it's just like I'm either waking up in the middle of the night or I'm up early with her. And I don't like being like, man, like, you know what I mean? You want to like be happy to see your kid, not be like,
you feel bad.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not even the hangover. It's that you feel bad.
Yeah.
You feel like
You're not attention.
100%. You
Yeah.
know, you get over it.
Yeah.
yeah. You know what? You're so right. Though. I'm gonna say like, I think I'm like, you gotta get over this, right?
Yeah.
Because she's starting daycare. Like we got her in daycare a couple days a week. And I said when we brought her in, I was like, I don't even know about this. Like I'm a comedian. Like I don't even know if I need these 2 days. Like I could make it work. I was like, I think I'll only be bringing her here for like an hour or 2, you know. And the lady's like, yeah, that's what they all say at the beginning, you know. She's like, then I'll be calling you at 5:30.
Can,
Like,
can I schedule a late checkout?
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody want to work on Saturday?
That's exactly right, but
This morning I might have been still drunk when I was at the rink with Connor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
happens.
got hammered last night. And
I love
fucking
that.
Went to hockey this morning.
I mean, it wasn't like when I look back at my own childhood, I'm like, it wasn't like that wasn't happening all the time.
It
You know what I
was
mean?
100%,
I just got to get
yeah.
better at it.
And so here's
It's like drunk driving. I need practice, and I need
the
you
kids
know.
actually are the ones who like.
Pick up on it.
No, they told me that they basically told me not in so many words that it was okay because when I did dry January,
Yeah.
they didn't even know that I wasn't drinking. Did I tell you that story?
No.
No.
I was like, hey, how's it been the last couple of weeks? You guys having more fun with that? They're like, nah, it's the same. I was
that's
like,
great.
fuck yeah, let's go.
Can you say that?
We're on to
Can you say
February.
that right into the camera lens, Tom?
Would have been better if they were like, we kind of miss you like in December,
Yeah,
November.
you were better
You
when
were
you were
awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're a little more fun on Fridays and Saturdays, like before. You know.
Yesterday, so Wolf Tones was Friday night. Yesterday, I knew it was going to happen because I was rebel rousing and everything else on Friday night. 8 a.m. Saturday.
You were out of there like, dude, you were very responsible though. You were out of there right after.
Because we had the babysitter and
Yeah.
she's by the hour and she doesn't miss a fucking beat. So I was
Yeah.
like, we got to dip. So she was like, hey, 8 a.m., don't forget, I'm going with my mom to IKEA, which basically means I'll see you maybe Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I had my two youngest daughters, and I was hurting, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And my youngest is going through something right now that I've never dealt with any one of my kids, and it's just a tough day.
Oh shit.
And we're getting there, we're going through it, but I'm like, she's got to come home. Like,
Yeah.
life is much easier when mom's there.
Of course, yeah. I'm
And it's
already
still
learning
tough,
that.
But like
yeah.
when dad's there, dad's just like, I need 5 minutes to like scream.
Yeah.
And everyone leave me alone. Didn't happen though.
And they know
She-
you're weaker. Like, you know what I mean? They know you don't
1000%.
have like your rock, so they're like, we can get away with it.
100%.
Consensus.
Yeah, the,
Funny because
the
I had,
substitute
like
is
little
here.
sharks in the water.
Oh yeah.
So
they
you had like
smell
a
it.
teaching moment. So my son is we talk about him all the time, but Tommy's 16 or whatever he is.
What are hangovers like for you guys though? So I feel like everyone kind of has their own. Like mine are more in my head than in my body. Like my wife, when she gets hungover, she's like, I feel like shit. She throws up.
Yeah, I
and
don't get
stuff.
that.
I don't get that. But I'll be walking around all
Mentally
day.
all fucked up.
Mentally
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
fucked
That's what happens to me.
Sludge.
Yeah.
And I usually am like, if I have a beer right now, it'll make this go away.
Yes.
It's gonna make this all go
Or
away.
you go like you'd finally get one at like to like lunchtime. Someone's like, hey, you want to go out to lunch? You're like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You know? You
Yeah.
have a burger. You like have that first Bud Light. You're like, oh, what the fuck? Like I feel fantastic. What was I even worried about?
My wife's one of those like Irish women, Irish American women who like they are like Danny's daddy used to as like professional wakers. Like Maggie's mom, like
1000%.
Maggie
Loves the wakes.
Maggie's mom, like she is a professional waker, but Maggie's mom's best friend passed away. Who was like in our life, like, great woman. So it was a funeral. The funeral was Friday. So Maggie's like, the kids are going. Like that's how Maggie rolls. She's like, they're going. They're paying their respects. Now it's in Needham, and I'm like, all right. So we go to the funeral, go to the church, and now we're going to like the after party, which is at a restaurant. And it's like me, my two kids that are home. My other daughter's at college, and then my brother-in-law Bobby came for like a little bit. And Tommy's like, when are we out of here? I'm like, listen, I'm gonna just tell you this right now, shut your fucking mouth. I'm like, you're gonna have to eat this day.
Yeah.
Like you gotta, if you start complaining, I'm telling you this from experience. Like, it's a tough day, but I go, you're gonna fucking, it's gonna be so much worse if you stop bitching.
That's a good
because then
life
she's gonna
lesson.
come at you and like it's gonna be a whole weekend fucking situation, which it's
teach
gonna be
them
World
young,
War
like,
III.
it's
I'm
easier
like,
to
just
just
fucking
fucking
eat
do
the
it.
chicken fingers they have here. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Watch me drink a Guinness.
5
Yeah.
years in the future, he's gonna be like, can we stay longer?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
Just
21?
that he can't have a beer. That's all it is right now.
Yeah, as soon as you have a beer, you're like, oh man, this is the best fucking funeral ever.
Sick week.
But he said to me, he's like, if
Uncle
I,
Johnny.
Yeah.
before we were
Making
going, he
speeches.
was like, if I die in the next few years, I'm like, that's a great thought.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want like a Viking funeral. Just push me out into El Pond, which is the pond in Melrose,
Hell
and
yeah.
just fucking
Light me on fire.
light him on
Yeah.
fire. And he goes, I just want people pulling super colds, pulling fucking Coors Lights
Yeah.
and a Regin.
Regin.
Yeah. And he goes, and I go, that kind of almost is an Irish funeral anyways. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people are just, I remember the first one I went to was with my grandfather, and like afterwards I'm just sitting there and they're just telling these awesome stories. And I'm like, this is fucking
Yeah, it's
great.
kind of fun.
It's a good hang.
We
You know
send
what I mean?
everyone back to the house, and it'd be like all the adults would just be laughing.
Yeah.
I think I told you this, but like one of my very good friends, Sherrod, wrote his senior thesis in college on Irish wakes when he went to my mother's wake.
Oh shit.
He had no idea that like we get down that way.
Yeah.
He was like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah." there's
Sherrod?
No Sherrod, yeah.
What kind of
nice
dude is
Irish
he?
fella?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's from Tyrone.
That's funny, man. That's a good life skill to like eat the day. That's like there's so many times in life where you just got to be like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But like,
Gotta
you know,
do
you
it.
just got to think about that little cherry at the end of the day. You know,
Yeah.
you're like, all right, I'll beat off before I go to bed. You know what I mean? You're like, I gotta pre-roll and jerking off. Maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Like if I just gotta endure.
Yeah.
Anyone can endure anything. You know,
Absolutely.
that's
My
life.
father used to wisely, I don't know if this is wise or not wise, but he was like, if you got something to do the next day, it sucks. He's like when I used to be in the National Guard and I knew I had the whole weekend at the, to do like basic or whatever they were doing. He's like, I just get cocked the night before. He's like, 'cause it's gonna suck anyway. So if you're hungover, who cares? It
Wow,
still
I
sucks.
like that. Yeah.
That was Johnny
So I
Manziel's.
live my life by that. You know what I mean?
Those older guys are made of steel though. Like my dad's like, I never seen him really hungover. He just like decides not to be. Do you know what I mean? Like he just has this skill of being
different-
like, I know he
different
is.
men back there.
There've been times where I like caught him kind of dragging a little bit or being like, ugh, you know what I mean? I'm like, Dad, you go a little hard last night? He's like, no, I'm gonna go for a run. You know what I mean? Like just denies it.
My father would just be like, I just think I get the stomach bug. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Meanwhile, the VO's still being poured.
Yeah, the brew flu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
The cranberry, I had an uncle who's like a total alcoholic. He'd be like, he'd drink vodka crayons all the time, and he used to always be like, "This cranberry juice is fucking up my stomach. It's fucking, I gotta find a new drink because this cranberry juice is just killing me." And we'd always be like, "Yeah, man, you know."
That is funny because when we were, so Maggie's like, so we're going to Aruba next week, and Maggie's like, you got to take Tommy to Old Navy and make him try on like shorts that he can wear to dinner. Because this kid just lives in fucking sweats. So I take him, and he's like, I'm not trying these on. And I'm like, I'm not interested in having you try them on either. I'm like, I'll just return them. I don't give a fuck. So then we're getting out of the truck, and he goes, what's the subject tonight on the podcast? I'm like, oh, we're doing back-to-back shows. I'm like, but remember that dude? I'm like, we went up to New Hampshire last year for February break. We all watched your special, and that guy Will Noonan.
That's
he goes,
nice.
He goes, that kid's funny, and I'm like, so there you go.
Hey, that's a
Yeah.
fucking.
Tommy doesn't give compliments.
No.
That's-
If I
that's
can get
huge.
that from a
Yeah.
younger guy, I'm getting to the age now where like when a young,
How old are you?
I'm 42.
Oh, me too.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, fuck it.
Yeah.
When a younger person is laughing in the audience or comes up to me and says like I had a good time, it like feels good,
Yeah.
you know, because you're like
You still got
you
it.
still got it a little bit.
By the way, I can edit this out of the episode or not, but I think it was you that said to me on text or somewhere that you're like, one black laugh is worth 4 white
Oh,
laughs.
that's you can
That
do
was
that.
that was in
so
front of my
true.
face at Prince Pizza.
Yeah, I know,
and
yeah.
I put it
Oh,
on,
yeah, that's
and
what
I
it
was
was,
like,
yeah.
because it's so true. One black guy
To
laugh.
us, like, you know,
One
hey,
black
like,
guy laugh
to a black
equals.
comic, it probably isn't, but it's like it's so true. I remember though, it is like if you can get them really good, like, but black people do give it up. Like I used to do black rooms, like when I started. I started in New York, so it was like there is a black comedy scene in Boston, but it's really small.
Yeah.
But in New York, it was kind of like the comedy scene's so big and the black comedy scene was so big, it was kind of like easy to get on the shows, right? So I would do them, and I'd be like, man, like. These people like are great. Like everyone, like if you suck, they will really let you know you suck.
1000%.
Yep.
But if you're good, like they're gonna give you more than like a rich, maybe like a like an uptight kind of like New York white crowd, right?
Right.
And I used to feel that way. And I remember I had this manager one time. He goes, he had white clients and black clients, and he would be like, a black comic gets their first standing ovation in like their first month of comedy. And he's like, and a white comic will go like their first decade before they get like their first standing ovation. And I'm like, it's so true. Man. It's yeah, it's true. Especially at a place like Giggles. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well, look at the difference in churches. A black church and a white church.
Oh,
Black church is so much better.
Have you ever
Funeral-
been to a black
No.
church?
I've seen it on TV,
It's
though.
exhilarating experience.
Yeah, it's a good time. And I went to a black funeral, and that was like, after going to mostly only Irish funerals, it's like literally the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, what we were talking about earlier was like the fun after party.
Yeah.
But like the
You
ceremony
still got to
itself,
sit through 45 minutes of mass.
Yeah.
In
the
kneel,
priest,
stand.
the priest,
Shake hands.
always the worst
Yeah.
monologue you ever heard in your life. It's always the same shit of like, oh, this person I just read about in a paragraph form this morning. Wow, what a guy.
Yeah.
And you know, life is like a grocery store. And there's bread, and that's your faith, and there's salt, and that's your sin, and it's always the same nonsense. As a comedian, I just sit there and I'm like, fuck, if these guys like just could take a couple classes, maybe we could make this more tolerable. But the black funeral, I went to a wake actually, and it was just off the chain. It was when I was working in a bar in New York. This guy was like a regular customer, and so we all decided to go to his funeral. He's a black dude, and there was like, I mean, he was packed out. He was knew everybody, and in the middle, you know, it's like everyone's going up saying nice things about him and stuff. So it was like a funeral / wake kind of thing, and it's pretty normal. Oh, he's a good guy. This one lady goes up. She's like, you know, I lived in the building with him, and we were his real family. She literally points at his actual family and goes like, you weren't there for him. Like, we weren't. His actual family stands up and is like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they start, like, having it out, like, right there, like, at the thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, and one of them, like, threw herself onto the casket, and then they're pulling her off, and it was just like, I was like, you know, you don't see this, and you don't really see this, like.
On Broadway
Milton.
and Southie?
Yeah, on Broadway and Southie in Milton. But I do like, in Southie, you get all those dudes who, all the Undertakers, they look like CIA agents. You know what I mean? They always stand around, and they always look like the guys that work at like Southie funeral homes. They always look like really awesome. Like they have like clean shavens, like state trooper haircuts, and like the awesome suit. But I'm like, you know, they were probably like degenerates, like literally over the weekend. You know what I mean? Because it's like that kind of job just attracts like, you know.
Yeah, it's not a steady job.
It's like being a cop or something, but it's not, you know? It's like, it's official, but you can.
You want to work this 4 to 7 on Thursday? Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it. They clean up
Jimmy. He
good.
was a great
I
guy.
gotta press my suit.
Hope you guys don't have a lot. The Undertaker audience is listening right now like, fuck this guy.
This guy sucks.
He sucks. I'll embalm his ass. I'll say.
So we're doing back-to-back shows tonight. The next show we're doing. So last year, this exact date, we had this kid Jinty in who's like unbelievable. He's a great player and musician. And instead, we're gonna have me and Ryan Hearn, which is like
Ryan coming?
That's like a cheeseburger to like.
Are you related to him?
No, he's my neighbor. He's
Literally
same,
next door
same
neighbor.
last name.
I know like 3 other Aherns. Though,
Really?
So yeah.
Since I've met you, I've met a lot
Of
more.
a couple different spellings.
He is. This kid is. I am doing a little impersonation of him on the show sometimes. This kid
incredible.
is so fucking nervous. He texted me today. He's like, I'm fucking shitting my
To do
pants.
this?
Yeah, because he's never been on a podcast.
He's
Do you hear the tone in his voice? He's like, to do this?
to do this fucking concession stand podcast, bro.
Like, who is this loser?
I agree with you, by the way. I agree with you.
That's not how I meant it, but that is how it sounded.
It sounded just like that. I know. My son plays with a Noonan.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Hockey?
Yeah.
We had a pro in the family, Brian Noonan. He won the Stanley Cup
Oh,
with.
really?
Really?
Yeah, with he's my like third cousin, but his sister Donna was my next door neighbor for years in Southie. But yeah, he was. I was a little kid when it happened.
Not enough Donnas left
He
in
got
the world.
traded around a little bit.
Thomas. Good name.
There's
Got
not enough
traded to
Donnas.
the Rangers halfway through the season in '94 when they won the cup. So
Oh, nice.
It was like perfect.
I think so. Going on that, I actually think I'm very critical of like people doing Boston accents, right?
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's in every commercial audition in the city.
yeah, and I think
So
there's
what?
like certain things I've talked about before, but like I think there's,
Arabica
like,
beans.
Hilarious.
there's like certain things that like I think that the thing that gets people fucked up on the Boston accent is like that they don't. It's like where the emphasis is on the words is almost as important as like how it's said.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I remember I was getting so we used to get water in our basement. By the way, home ownership's the best. You just bought a house, right?
Oh yeah.
Came
Yeah.
down today, right? Doing the laundry. I'm like, that's about an inch of water down here. Like the fucking pipe came out of the.
Ew,
Yeah.
Oh, the pump.
Yeah, we had our pilot light on the
so I was
boiler.
like, oh,
to,
this is great.
I know a guy.
yeah, it's like
Yeah. So, anyways, but with the Boston accent thing, like I had a guy down there to put French drains in, and he was like older guy, owns like whatever the fucking French drains company I use. I can't remember. But he's like,
I
I
also
remember he's
have
like,
French drains. I just learned what they were when I bought the fucking house.
they're French as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they smell
like
French.
everybody hates them. Everybody hates them. Like
That
these
is
drains
true.
are pussies.
Yeah, people see it and they're like, oh, French drain. Ugh.
So the guy's like, by the way, real quick aside, driving my daughter the other day, and she's like telling me she's on the Snapchat group with like 15 Irish girls from Ireland because one girl that she went to school with moved back to Ireland,
Wow.
and she's like, yeah, and she's like, they all hate the French. I'm like,
yeah.
what? Like, how do you already know about that?
That's
So,
funny.
anyways, well, the guy came in. He was explaining the system to me. He's like, Brendan. He's like, if you buy this system, it's guaranteed for life. Like the delivery of
Oh,
like
he
that,
hit
like
it.
emphasis on every word. I'm like, this is what people don't get right.
Was he a boss? Like, and he
Oh
had that.
yeah. And he
So
had
that's
that
like, I would put that one into like that Boston guy on like a business tip. Like when he's like, when a Boston guy like really gets into his job for a little while, like he's like off pills for a year. You know what I mean? He's like done the steps, and now he's like super into his like job at, you know, it's sometimes it's like, you know, I'm starting up a nonprofit, you know, it's for people in recovery, but it's also for everyone, you know, and I got this girl help me with it. She's great. She's got
Her
2
name's
kids.
Donna.
Yeah, her name is Donna.
She's got her associate. She's all right.
But like, you're right. There's that clipped way of like being like,
I can see the Air Max 90s.
yeah.
Right, listening to that. Listening to that.
My office is in the back of my cousin's barber shop. He's been open 25 years. But they got that like, they're like almost always like a little sweaty.
Just glistening.
Just glistening a little bit. And they're like, yeah, for life, kid. You're going to have this for life.
I don't know if I maybe told this way earlier in the podcast, but I don't even give a fuck if I repeat shit. But when I lived in Salty, like after college, I dated this girl from Salty for a little bit. And she worked with yeah. She worked with me at State
That's like
Street.
saying I went to Vietnam for a little bit.
Yeah. I was still in the PTSD. So I would go to like these real Salty parties.
Yeah.
And like this one time, this kid's like, he's like, comes over to me. But at that time in Salty, so I'm 48. So
I thought you were younger than that.
no, see, that's a good thing.
Look at that. Your beard looks
beard's
younger than
killer
mine.
right now,
Yeah.
that's why.
It is looking good.
Yeah,
huh?
we're getting there. We're getting there. So I was like, so I'm at this party and this kid's like staring at me and I'm like, here we go. I'm fucked. And he's like, says some name and I'm like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm Brendan. He's like, dude, you're a fucking dead ringer for this kid. He's
Oh,
like, and he's
Jesus.
like, he's a fucking maniac. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So
I
I kind
am-
of forget.
I am
Yeah,
him.
me too.
I kind of forget about it, right? And then I was working my job at that time. I was working on Washington Street by like where Macy's is. And I'm outside smoking a cigarette. I was smoking at that point. And this dude's walking down the thing, tilted hat, fucking full jumpsuit. And he's like staring at me. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, Billy Davis. And I'm like, so that was the second time within like 2 months.
Dude, that's scary.
So then, dude, when I would walk around, because you would kind of get hassled a little bit, because that was really where it was like, they were like, you're not supposed, like, it was
You're a
big,
fucking yuppie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
There
I
was
would
a-
just like tilt my hat to the side and walk around and be like, nobody would fuck with me. I'm like, they think I'm this fucking
That's
maniac.
Billy, this maniac,
you know what I
Billy
mean?
Davis.
Yeah. And I'm the biggest pussy it's ever lived. You know what I mean? It's great, fucking
That's
great.
that's like the beginning of like a show. You know what I mean? Because then you're in the mob. Like it's like Breaking Bad or something. You know what I mean? You find your way in.
Suits.
I like
All right,
that.
let me ask you a question about comedy.
Sure.
So obviously, this is what you've done since you were out of college, right?
Long time. Yeah, 18 years. This is 18 years.
Yeah.
This year.
So you're very established.
I was out of
Um,
college a couple years. I was an actor first. So I tried to be an actor like out of high school, and it's a hard life. Like I got a couple small things, and then I love stand up, wanted to do it, but it was like I thought it was like pro baseball or something. Like you just had to do it. You had to have family connections or something. Then after living in New York for a couple of years, I was like, I think I started to make friends with some comics or whatever, and I was like, I think I could like get on stage. And then once I did it, I was like, fuck yeah, I love this shit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it all
Yeah.
started, you know.
And so now 18 years. So
Yeah.
when you're thinking of like, because I've watched pretty much anything that. So I've seen you live, but I've also watched. You had a great special last year that you put
Yeah,
on
thank
YouTube.
you. Yeah.
Check
Check it out on YouTube.
Check it out on YouTube.
Because
awesome.
fucking it's shadow banned the shit because of
Really?
a school shooting joke. Yeah.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
joke's great.
Yeah, I
So like
thought-
that's what I wanted to say is that like I think some of your what I like about your stuff is that like you kind of don't know where it's going. Do you know what I mean? Which
Thank
is
you.
like anything else, songwriting or whatever. Like it's like so like do you just get like a seed of something? Then you're like, all right, how do I build this out?
Yeah,
so it's
well,
like,
you gave me a big compliment there because that's kind of like literally what I'm trying to do. I
Yeah.
try and be like, you know, I try and write jokes in the sense of like, if someone steals my shit, like, I'm really gonna know they stole it because it's gonna be like, it's so specific and weird and kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When everyone's doing jokes about Tinder, it's easy to be like, oh, I'm doing my joke. This guy stealing my shit about Tinder. But I'm like, if you're writing a joke about running over a chicken in your neighbor's driveway, it's kind of like no one's gonna really.
Right.
yeah.
That was kind of how it all started. I was like, yeah, I got to stand out somehow here. So, but it does. It kind of starts with like, I got this little notebook in my pocket, and I can actually use an example right now. I just wrote down this morning speaking through the baby on there.
Yeah.
And that's like my wife. Well, like when I'm in the room, she's like talking to the baby. She's like really talking to me. You know what I mean? She'll be like, we're going to take a little nap, you know, and then we're going to take a walk and let daddy take a nap because he had 12 beers last night. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. And then go on stage and kind of like try it just kind of like that. I would do it at Capo. Usually the first place I would try it on Wednesday night and then just kind of like just keep telling it until I always say it's like telling a story. You tell it over and over again, and it gets better every time you tell it. You cut out the shitty parts. You try and add things and stuff like that. But the longer you do it, the quicker that process is. I feel like, or the more you know what's kind of not gonna work.
Yeah, I took Tommy last. Tommy's like he loves stand up, and he's obviously like every other kid at his age. He loves Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
So last year,
I mean, Shane Gillis is like Shane's so fucking good. Like, everyone should love him. Like, I'm like,
so
I'm a
I
fan
took
of
him.
his.
I'm like, fuck it, I'm buying tickets.
Yeah.
But it was the late show. I've told the story. I was like in line. I'm like, dude, I don't see one kid here that's your age. So put your hood up. Like, I don't even know if we're getting into this thing. But Shane was doing it, and then he did like a couple bits where it was like, he's like, I don't have this thing completely fucking dialed yet. He's like, but here's what it is, and like. Did like whatever. And he's like, and then like in the middle, he's like, see, I don't even know where that's going yet. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, it's
in the middle of the show.
Pretty much.
It's a weird thing, like writing a joke, and I mean, it's a thrill. The first, I'll be like, when I did stand up for the first time, I had a joke that got me on stage. So it was like I was writing stuff like your son is, and I was like, some of it. But then I like wrote this one joke that like made everyone laugh when I told them, and the joke was about Sheryl Crow. Of course.
What else would it be about?
It was Sheryl Crow had a terminal illness, but luckily for her, it went away. Isn't it nice to know that even cancer only has a passing interest in Sheryl Crow? And I would tell people, and they'd be like, oh, that is funny. And it's kind of like clever. Like, you should do comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had that joke as my closer for like the first 2 years I did comedy. So it'd be like, I could kind of like fuck around and bomb, but I knew I had like something kind of funny.
Right. Yeah,
Especially comedian funny. Like, that joke might not even do that well with like regular people, but with like comics or like people who are like kind of into comedy or a little bit like when I was like 24 when I was doing that joke. So, it kind of got it. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of didn't have the balls to go on stage until I knew I had like this like one fastball. That
You could pull it out like fucking. You know it's gonna work.
And a lot of fame. The first open mic I did, Sam Morrell was on, and closed it, and he was already super fucking good.
Oh shit!
But he was. I started like a year after him.
So do you see guys? Because obviously, so go back to that. So you run Capo on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
So. Basically, like you showcase comics. Danny's done it before.
Yeah.
So you showcase comics like every week, and then you have some of your own guys that are regulars.
Yeah,
that, like,
a couple
maybe they wanna get
regulars.
up, whatever,
Yeah.
work some stuff out. Do you see guys? You're just like, oh, that kid's got it. Like,
yeah, I think, but I've also been surprised. I think more often than not, what I see is like I'll see a really new comic, and I'll be like, okay, like that comic is like. Has sort of the base like parts. Like, they got what you need here. They have something there.
Yeah.
They'll at least like be good at this. They can stick with this, you know. But I've also been wrong where I've seen people and I'm like, that guy's never gonna figure it out, and then they do. You know what I mean? So he'll probably hate me saying this, but Dan Crone, who's a great headliner now.
Is that the guy? Because I was gonna ask you this. There was a guy there when I was there who was on Comedy Central. That was him, right?
It might have been him. I'm not.
But he went up there because when I first went to Capo, I didn't know what to expect. First off, great room.
Yeah,
it's fucking great. But he came up there with like index cards. He was like one of the first or two.
I wonder who it was.
Tall, skinny guy.
That's him.
That's
yeah.
him. 100%.
That's him. Yeah.
Because
he
I was with Sean O'Brien. He was like, yeah, he was on Comedy Central. I'm like, what am I doing here? I was like, I've been on a fucking it's on a microphone like fucking like 5 times.
I think he was on NBC too. He was on, and but so there you go, right?
So he's there all the time.
All these great things, and I remember when I moved to Boston, like he hadn't really figured it out yet, and I remember being like, why does everyone keep giving this guy a chance? Like he's not really that fucking good. But then like you see him and you're like, oh, he's had a good set there, and then he had another good set, and then it was like I always use him as the example of like he might have been doing it 5 or 6 years before he really clicked into like who he
Sure.
he found his like little style.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you never kind of know, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I guess you can, I don't know. A big thing is just like how much fun you're having doing it. When you see a young comic who's just having a good time on stage, you're like, that's gonna do well. They're gonna have fun doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When it's like such a fucking chore to even get up on stage. Sometimes I'm like, man, maybe do something else.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know. It's a tough one. I think I'm pretty good though at like spotting. Like I'm trying to think of one. There are a couple people who have gone on like big things like Sam J. Like when I
Hilarious.
met, when
She
I
opened
met her,
she's who opened for Shane that
Gillis,
night.
yeah,
And she was
yeah.
unbelievable.
when Laugh Boston first opened, I had a midnight show there, and it was pretty fun. It was like kind of a wild. Like when Laugh Boston first opened, they were like, yeah, like we're trying to turn this into like a fucking hang. Like you can smoke weed in here, and we were like, great. And that lasted like a week. But this was like probably during that first period of time, and this is how I met her. Like I had a problem with people just coming back and hanging backstage. I was like, listen, like I know it's midnight. We all had fun show, but like I got to have the comics on the show backstage and other guys at the bar.
Yeah.
It's just like too many fucking heads back here.
Sure.
And it was like the third or fourth week of doing it, and Sam J's back. I like come backstage and Sam J's back there, and she's not on the show, and I didn't know her or anything like that. And she just like comes up to me. She's like, I know I'm not supposed to be back here, but I swear to fucking God, like funny as fuck. Like you should put me on. Like I'm funnier than half the people on this fucking
Hell yeah.
lineup. And
Confidence
like,
is key.
yeah, and it's like I'm just saying, like you should put me on, you know. And I was like, all right. I was like, I totally love this energy.
Yeah.
Like, and I put her on, and it was like she was just such a when she came out in like the Boston scene, it was like guys like me, and then it was like guys like me doing like the Boston stuff, and then you had like the guys in Cambridge doing like the nerdy smart stuff, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then you had this like black trans like chick from the hood who was doing like telling crazy stories, and it was just like instant. It's kind of like the Dropkick Murphys. I also saw one of their early shows,
Yeah.
and they were just like it was like a movie.
Yeah,
where it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone instantly was like, "This is the greatest." It was like like when Michael J. Fox plays the guitar in the fucking
Back
Back to the
to the
Future movie.
Future, yeah.
It was like people were like, "This is the best thing ever." It was like the same with her. So there are moments like that. I remember with Andrew Schultz and stuff. I opened for him a lot in his early days, and I saw like the sort of rise of his fame.
Yeah.
But it was clear right away that he was like a different type of dude.
Yeah.
He's fucking
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I also think it's comedy's not like music, just the way that like there's so much different variety of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's so what somebody does and people love them, I'm like, I don't love that guy. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? But then I'm like, I love this guy.
Yeah, it's a lot like music too, in the sense of there's like pop music and there's
Yeah.
like local music and there's Spotify is kind of like, I guess Instagram is kind of like Spotify, right? It's
Yeah.
like there's Instagram comics now and TikTok comics.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It's a whole thing, man.
Well, it was you that said that I loved. I think it was a tweet you did where you're like, when I started doing comedy, I didn't also anticipate the fact that I was expected to like outwit an algorithm on
Oh my
a daily
fucking God, dude.
basis.
None of this stuff.
Brutal.
I literally got into like one of the best things about being a comedian was like you don't work a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I watched Seinfeld. I'm like, this guy just hangs out all day. And then he does
He
shows.
slays, by the way. For whatever, that's what drove me nuts about Seinfeld. I'm like, every woman in New York wants this
Yeah.
guy. No fucking
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah, like if you like thought about the TV show Friends, you're like, these chicks are sluts. There should be an episode where they like go to the clinic together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get tested.
That was like that.
You know,
I got
like
the
real
clap.
New Yorkers do. I tell you, I was a New Yorker. You know,
It's like that show that
it
used
is
to be
the
on.
easiest city to get laid in, though. Like it's the easiest city to get laid in on earth, New York City. I was a bartender in New York City. I lived there for like almost 10 years. And I used to tell people all the fucking time. I'd be like, if you're a guy and you want to get laid in New York City, you just have to stay up till last call. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's different. It's a different type of spot.
Did you grow up here?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
in
town?
Milton, mostly. I
Oh,
was born in
Milton.
Southie. It's like a confusing thing. People give me too much Southie
Cred?
because I
Yeah.
lived there as an adult. I was born there, but like most of my, schooling and stuff was in Milton.
Yeah.
So by the way, so I
Milton
went to,
High,
so I went to college. And my roommate was from Milton, and then like I became friends with all his friends from Milton. and they have this thing where they like speak backwards.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
it is fucking awesome.
It's probably
Like,
not
so-
that different from Melrose, I bet. Like
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
I was
Like,
looking at
they'll-
the fells. I was like, this is like the
Yeah,
same.
like my roommate was Mark Chapman, so they'd be like Cram Nampatch,
Yeah.
and like they'll be like,
Wide trap.
are we playing?
Kennard and Reeves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we doing Reeves and Flog today? Like we doing beers and
We
golf?
did it
Like,
to talk about parties in front of our teachers.
yeah.
It was like the guys a year ahead of me, I think, invented it, and it stuck around forever.
That's
I-
pretty
It
fucking
never.
good.
It was awesome.
I'm gonna start doing that.
Yeah,
I'll
to
just
this
start it.
day, to this day, my buddy Nick will be like, "Yo, you coming over tonight? Sick white trap at my place."
Dude, when I saw the first time I actually met Will was at Giggles. So I'm like, oh, I know the Feenies. You're like Cram
Sneef.
Sneef? I'm like, yeah, let's fucking go. Yeah.
Yeah, we all had nicknames. Well, everyone's parents were from either Southie or Dorchester.
Yeah.
So it was like we were just like one down.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
and
yeah.
most of our dads were either cops or firemen or tradesmen or something like that. So they all had nicknames, like in their neighborhoods. So we kind of gave each other nicknames. And I remember there was a kid named Zuga. That was one of my favorite ones. He was a fucking meathead. And he'd be like, oh, fucking Zuga, Zuga got caught dipping in biology. And he'd be like, classic Zugs.
Classic songs.
He's always down for that. So like I said, I was a big soft boys guy. I wanted to bring up this point because I love this take that you have on Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, dude, I hate Anthony Bourdain.
So actually, it's funny because Ryan Hearn's coming on. He's one of those guys. Who's
one of
like, Anthony Bourdain's the best, right?
Get me and him to debate.
All right, so give me a
Well,
take.
it's just like, dude, I'm lighting up right now. This is like one of my favorite things to talk about is how overrated Anthony fucking Bourdain is and how, like, first of all, he killed himself over a chick. So, like, start there. That's the first thing. Like, we're like, oh, this is a hero to all men. Like, this guy is our, like, model for masculinity. The dude who's like, whoa.
He wears a leather jacket, Will.
What?
He wears a leather
he wears
jacket, smokes.
Well, first of all, it all starts with like chefs. That's where it really starts.
Yeah,
Where I'm like,
yeah.
first of all, like I respect the chef, but like to a degree, like to
Yeah.
a limit. Let's not call them rock stars. That's one of the
Yeah.
things, like rock star chef.
You're not
I'm
Vince
like,
Neil.
Shut the fuck. Like,
Yeah.
cooking is not that hard. Like it's hard, but once you learn.
Joey Boats.
Yeah. Biggest thing I always say is like the best cooks, like everyone says the best thing I ever ate was from my grandma, right? And like no one's like following grandmas with camera crews around New York City. Like, what's your favorite restaurant? But I just think he's like kind of a douchebag. I think he's pretentious. And I think he does this thing where he's like, chefs are great, but the whole premise of his show is taking people to like fast food places and small places in cities and being like, no, this is what's great. So I'm like, so this guy's not a chef. This is like a fucking Mexican guy in the back who's like, what are you doing in here? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Am I leaving out some stuff? Sometimes I just go right after.
I think it was the other thing you used to say was like, he used to be like the way to solve is a hangover and like a Coke.
Oh,
and it's like,
yeah.
it's like, oh, it's to fucking solve all your problems. Like,
Oh yeah, he used to always. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like
Like
there's
smoke
all
a
these
joint and have a-
videos of Anthony Bourdain giving advice that are like, "I've lived on beyond his death." He's
Yeah.
like, "A hangover? Oh, I know you need." And it's always something like normal and something weird. You know, it's like Coca-Cola in a can. And octopus ink, sprinkled over an Israeli girl's tits. You know what I mean? It's like I can't
So-
get that.
I watched
So you're
like
fucked.
I watched shitloads of documentaries. There was one on him, so I watched it.
Yeah.
And like it definitely alludes to the fact that by the end of the time that he was around, like he was a insufferable
Oh, and he was
fucking
into
asshole.
Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
which makes him such a loser.
There you go, right there.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
this
but
is the guy. He's the kind of guy. I'll never stop. Like I can see Fitzy's eyes. Like he's like, gee, this guy really hates anything. Speaking ill of the
So
dead.
I don't know.
You didn't watch like No Reservations or
No,
anything.
because
yeah.
I wasn't. I
You've
don't
probably
think it's
seen
great.
tattoos of this dude on people at the gym.
There's so many people that are like,
Yeah.
you watch fucking No Reservation. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't. It's not. It's
I
not
used
on
to
my
always get him
list,
confused
you
with the
know?
other fat dude with the bald head. His name was Anthony.
Vitali?
No, Anthony
Oh.
something. But he would like basically do the same thing, but not as cool as fucking Bourdain. I forget
Yeah.
his name. His name was definitely Anthony too.
Yeah, Bourdain is just.
Looked like a
It
penis.
cracked me up when I was listening to Kirk Minahan the other day. He was talking about how, like, I guess, like, so when Gene Hackman retired from acting, like, he just disappeared.
Yeah.
But he's like, the last time he was on film was like a Guy Fieri, Diners, Drives, and Dives. They went to like some breakfast place in New Mexico, and fucking Gene Hackman was just eating breakfast there.
That's so
and they're like,
funny.
oh, how is it? And he's like, Gene Hackman was like, it's great. You know, it's great.
Really?
Wow.
Gene Hackman, dude, we've lost. And I'm lifting this a little bit from Bill Simmons because he talks
When I
about it, but
bought
it's true.
that bottle of booze,
Yeah.
we had a little talk about Gene Hackman at the liquor store.
Oh, nice.
Me
Yeah.
and the girl
yeah.
that worked there.
Gene Hackman looked like all our dads. in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And like Timothy Chalamet doesn't look like your dad. You know what I mean?
No.
Like Gene Hackman like looked like he could
looks-
ground you tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
he's a Marine.
yeah, but I'm saying like he looked like he could
Fucking hero.
fucking like they don't have actors like that anymore.
Oh, I was like, why are we comparing Gene Hackman and Timothy Chalamet?
Because Timothy Chalamet is more like Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, he probably is like Bourdain knew. You know,
Yeah.
when I don't know how to make a decision, I think, what would Tony do?
That Wonka movie was good with him. Did you see that?
Who, Chalamet?
Yeah.
No, I didn't see that.
It was good.
I don't
He's one
watch
of those
children's
dudes
films.
like Jelly Roll. Like one day I didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
and the next day it's like he's in every conversation.
I always say you can know somebody's credit score by their love of Jelly Roll. Like,
Any
you got
I
a
said this.
640 if you're a fucking Jelly Roll guy or below.
Any white guy with tattoos in their face, like he's the fuck. He speaks to my soul. I'm like,
Yeah.
how? Post Malone's ripping dots outside.
You know?
They're like, I love his music. I'm like, he's all right.
Something's going on with Post Malone, though. What is going on with Post Malone?
He looks sick.
He looks weird. He acts weird too. Like
Yeah,
He's
people would be like,
always acting.
there's always
Hello?
videos online where people are like, "Oh man, I met Post Malone and he's so nice," and it's just a video of him being like, "Hi, thanks for coming." You know what I mean? I'm like, that's so nice. Hey, what's going on, man? You know?
He's wicked skinny.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
skinny.
Yeah.
My wife said he goes butt to butt while
Literally.
performing
Yeah.
and just dripping sweat.
Yeah, and House and Bud Lights too. You know?
Yeah, what a life.
That's like the most normal thing about him. Like, and I'm watching and I'm like, how do you like be so skinny and drink like 20 Bud Lights a
I
day?
know, yeah.
I literally want to know. Like, I need that.
I need that
I need
information. Yeah. I guess you don't
He
eat
was
any
not
food.
skinny. Like,
No, he was
not-
like fat.
It's probably a little bump.
Yeah,
He's doing a little bump
keys?
there.
He might be.
that skit was
I
great.
believe
by the
you
way.
might be
Did you
correct.
see
You
that?
think those
Shane Gillis
Shane
Last
Gillis'
night?
SNL.
Nah.
Oh,
It was
it's
like,
good.
It was a
It was
Couple
a
bi-
prescription
couple of
for
beers?
a couple beers.
Yeah.
And he's
really?
like, and if the couple beers are making you drowsy, ask your doctor for a little bump.
it's fucking great. It is
I
good.
like that. I think that to talk. I don't know him super well, but I have opened for him a couple of times, and love like
Shane?
yeah.
Oh, no
I
shit.
love his comedy, and the way we met is kind of funny. It was like I was calling into a radio show. I used to call into this radio show in Connecticut all the time, Chaz and AJ. I still call in once in a while, but I used to call in like weekly and do like the Boston guy like report or whatever. It was just like a call in, and I called in, and it was like when Shane got fired from SNL, and they were like, "Well, you're a comic, like, you know, what do you think about this?" You know, and I was just like, "It's bullshit." And like at the time, that sounds like an obvious take now.
Sure.
But at the time, like no one was really taking his side.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Even on Twitter, like a lot of people who were like would probably say they didn't say it were like trashing him on Twitter because people wanted to look like they were. Everyone wants to be on SNL so bad that they were like taking SNL's side to be like, look at me, I'll fucking play by your rules, SNL.
We
Yeah.
love the Asians. We don't hate them. You
I'm
know?
up here in Boston, like I'm never even gonna sniff SNL, so I can tell the truth. You know what I mean? So I go, oh, it's absolute nonsense, and I go, and it's a terrible thing, and I said the biggest thing I think is like screwed up is that you know, people we have lives. Like he probably told his mom, he probably told his dad. Like everyone's excited to see him on SNL,
Yep.
and now that's all just not there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And DJ goes, yeah, that's true. Well, we got Shane in the studio right here, and Shane's like, oh, thanks. Well, that was really fucking nice. So I'm like, geez, that's weird. So then I see him at the stand like a couple months later in New York City, and he's like, oh, that was cool, you know, and you know, he was like, we both knew Anthony Cumia really well, so we were like, had some friends in common. We hung out that night a little bit, and that was when I realized he still got paid for the year of doing SNL because we were like talking to each other in this like Uber X, like super fucking nice SUV pulls up, and he's like, shut up, don't say anything, shut up, don't say anything. And I'm like, oh, he still has like a ton of dough. Because that was another thing I felt bad. They had to pay him for the whole year.
Yeah.
You know? So anyway, then when he came to Boston, before he like really blew up, before he did start doing theaters, he did Laugh. So I opened for him at Laugh with Matt, his buddy Matt.
Dude,
Dude,
Matt
that's a fucking riot.
Yeah, he's very
The
funny.
two of them
He
were like,
cracks me up, dude.
so the reason why it gets weird when you do it a lot, when you've done comedy, it's like weird to be like, to watch a Schultz special and be like, like, it's like he's a guy I know. It's
Yeah,
like weird.
yeah.
Shit happens. It's weird. You can't, it's harder to like sort of like watch it without thinking about it and just dissecting it. He's a guy though, that weekend of shows, and I was like, this is the best fucking shit. Like, this is what comedy's all about, you know? Like, he's the real. I'm literally jealous of the guy because he is the guy. he pretends to be on stage. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I
He's the
mean?
exact same
like,
person.
Not a lot of comedians are.
You talking about Gillis?
Gillis, yeah. Like, he is like, he's just a good fucking shit who's super funny,
Yeah.
who wants to drink beers and fuck around.
Yeah.
And every time I see him on TV, like, just mixing it up with like Cody Rhodes or someone, or, you know, you're like, yeah, of course, he could hang out with anybody.
Yeah.
Because he's just that kind of dude. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, there's some people you go like, why did they make it and not me? He's not one of those dudes. You're like, this dude was born to be like the world's most famous comedian because he's fucking awesome. And it's like, he's just because I was like, you know, when you're backstage and shit, you kind of like whatever. And we were talking about this other guy, and I was like, yeah, you know, like I hear he's like kind of bad on the booze right now. I was like, I hear he's like, you can't go to sleep without like, you know. And Gillis was like, he's just literally drinking Bud Light. He's like, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry, dude. And I just like fucking say something fucked up. You know what I mean? But I was like, this dude's like, it's just me and him, and he's being so fucking funny. You know what I mean? So, but I remember his early stuff too, like on Kumi's network. He was just really funny. He just always has been.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's just hilarious.
I like root for. I love seeing him do bigger and bigger and bigger things. I think he's gonna be in the new Happy Gilmore too. Like,
Hell yeah.
Oh, really?
yeah. He's just like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
WWE Raw, like sitting like you know.
Yeah, that's
So,
why like when my
love
son
to
was
see
like,
it.
he's coming, and I'm like, and we didn't get tickets. I bought them like aftermarket, so they were fucking expensive. But I was like, you know what? Fucking, this is gonna make this kid's fucking year to see the show. Like, and he goes, I remember now, obviously, this is a teenager who's been known to come home smelling like a campfire, so he's no saint. But like, I remember he's like, Dad, he's like, because I didn't drink, because I was like, you know, I'm taking him in there, and we went to the Dubliner before, and then like we're in there, and like, dude, it's the 10 o'clock show. People are fucked up in this place, and he's like, none of these people are gonna remember this. Like,
That's a little intense. How old was he? 15?
He was 15.
That's
when I
like a
took him.
little intense. I remember I went to see Aerosmith when I was 13. My brother took me to see Aerosmith when I was 13 at Great Woods, and it was like I was like put on a brave face, but I was a little bit like, oh man, this is
What's that smell?
yeah, like what's that smell? Fucking
Are those tits?
shit face. Like people were just like surprised to see me. You know what I mean? I was like 13, so people were like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You know,
That's
like,
a funny looking cigarette.
yeah, you know, yeah, you're like, you don't want to see kids when you're like getting banged up watching Aerosmith. Yeah. Collective Soul was the opening act.
Let's do a couple quick ads, and then we'll get back to this. American Benchcraft. So look, I mean, union owned, union shop,
Veteran owned.
veteran owned. AmericanBenchcraft.com. Belts, fucking ledges, where I write down the names of everybody I hate, and they stay there forever.
Yeah.
That's why I got that ledger. I'm like, I'm gonna write down these names, and they stay in there forever. If you use the code Corker, you get 20% off. They're the best. MisguidedSpirits.com. They have vodka, rum, whiskey. You can black out on it. I have. And the guy who runs it's the best of the business.
Yeah, he's the man.
Big Bad James. He's the best. So go check them out. Misguided Spirits. You can order their stuff to your house.
Yep.
Like you can get it that way. You want to do Bell's?
Sure.
I was just there, by the way. I went to Bell's yesterday.
I saw
morning.
it.
Yeah.
Looked great.
Yeah.
Bell's Roast Beef, 1211 Osgood Street, North Andover. Beef Madness is among us. You got to get up there. You got to vote for them. You got to go have their sandwiches. Have everything that they got in the business. Harry and Sandra will be looking forward to seeing you. BellasNA.com. As we know, it does not stand for Narcotics Anonymous. It stands for North Andover.
Dude, so and we'll do the other couple at the end. But this cracked me up was that
You're
so-
good at host, by the way, Brennan.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's a dog.
You're
He's a
like,
dog.
you know I'm a poor guest, but a good host.
yeah, no, you're good. Like you like steer the ship. You know, as
Thank
they
you.
say,
Yeah.
someone
Thank you.
has to.
Yeah, somebody's gonna do it. I remember I got to be a guest. I got to be a guest on a podcast. Sean Latham, who used to be, he's a stand-up.
Yeah.
He used to be on Barstool. I got on their
Sounds
podcast,
familiar.
and he opens for Fluffy all the time. Like he's
Oh,
part of
okay.
that whole like Latino like comedy crew.
That was the.
By the way, he
that
told
was
me I
the
didn't know
most
this. His thing is
Boston way to say Latino.
It was hilarious.
Latino. He's part of that.
yeah, you know?
Latino.
He's a good guy though.
Sounded like when the cop is making his statement, like when the
Yeah.
one, we're looking for a 6-foot male Latino.
So I got on that, and I was like, man, I'm a fucking bad guest. I'm not a great guest. I often say, like, if you meet me in real life, I suck. Like, in real life. Like, I'm not entertaining. But we did a reel last week where, like, I was talking about how I bought I came home and I was like, I bought bathing suit. Maggie's like, what'd you get? I'm like, LOB. And she's like, LOB? I'm like, yeah, it's flannel.
Wait a minute, you just bought a bathing suit?
Yeah, we'll go to Aruba next
all
week.
right.
Yeah.
February.
I was like, what the fuck?
It's a bikini.
I was about to like really rip into you,
Yeah,
man.
it's a bikini.
Were
so-
you some kind of queer by trying on bathing suits in February?
So we did this reel where it was like talking about like Fitzy was saying like it's nothing worse when you get out of a pool and you have a small dick and you got like a fucking bathing
yeah.
suit on. Sean Bryan was like, yeah, you pulling it away. Some Brooke 0337 on Instagram writes, everybody knows Sean Bryan doesn't have that problem. So I'm like, look, the women
Hell
are
yeah.
speaking on Instagram.
Wow.
So Sean Bryan's back.
Let's go,
so
Brooke.
not only does he have a super famous father now, but he also apparently has a hammer. So congratulations.
Some kids got all the luck.
The guys get all the luck. Yeah.
2 for 2, not a bad day.
Yeah. But yeah, so
When I do a half marathon, my dick has never looked worse. It's so bad. Like I only do one or two a year, and every time I do it, I'm like, how do you do it? Like I look at my dick, I'm like, buddy, you look terrible. Like I've never seen you so down.
you're a shell of yourself.
Yeah, like you look worse than a shell. You
Down
look
in the
like-
dumps.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
just like it's good for your body, but not for your dick and balls. That's a public service announcement.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, stick to 5Ks.
So-
I just got snipped.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
That's in
dude.
my future, but not
Yeah.
immediate.
You just had a kid. So
Yeah, we want to have one more,
one
but then
more?
that's
Yeah. So I
already on the docket for me. Like
Yeah.
my wife has made that clear.
yeah.
I hear it feels like you got kicked in the balls.
It's not fun, but I heard horror stories
Not
beforehand.
fun. Like
Yeah.
everybody's lined
Yeah,
up at
yeah.
the door.
Like let's go get a vasectomy.
I hear you can smell it.
It's not like,
You can.
Yeah.
You can. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
not like Molly, you know what I mean? Not everybody's fucking like legs
Yeah.
fucking rolling
Yeah.
this shit.
What would you rather do?
I'd be like
Sniff
nervous.
ecstasy or
He's a
get
big dude. If
vasectomy.
I were the doctor and had to cut your balls, I'd be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's
And I'd
like,
be like, nah, he's Irish. It's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get the microscope out.
I was not intimidating with my pants around
Oh,
my ankles.
You're at the mercy of this guy. You know what I mean?
Did you wake up that morning a little like, oh man,
I was
like,
like, this sucks.
this
I don't want to do this. And then they called and scheduled it earlier. They're like, we had an opening. I was like, all right, let's get this over with.
whew.
And then I forgot to shave.
Oh yeah,
I was
yeah,
supposed to
they-
shave.
Oh, yeah.
So I get there and I'm sitting there.
So they shave you?
I'm sitting there. He was wicked gentle. I'm sitting there.
Well,
right?
he was happy because ginger pubes are actually worth twice as much on the black
like
market.
saffron.
Yeah.
It's like
It's like a rare Pokemon card.
Oh, it's like a
Yeah.
it's like a rhinoceros trunk.
He's still using
tusk.
many spells in Hogwarts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They mix it all up and they make like something in Africa out of it, like cure somebody.
So they're like, all right, get undressed just from your waist down and sit there with the blanket over you. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like already like getting cold and like clammy, you know?
Yeah.
And I look to the right and I see a razor and I'm like, oh, fuck, I was supposed to shave my balls for this. And I fucking did it.
They had a razor. They're like,
walk
we
in,
know,
they're
that's why
like,
the
yeah,
razor
no one
was-
does it.
Yeah.
They walk in and I'm like, I got to apologize. I didn't shave. And they're like, yeah, that's why we have the razor. You're all set.
Was it an
They
electric
bring in a Dominican barber and he
It
just
was a fucking-
shapes them up.
It was a single blade.
Bic, like yellow
Yeah.
Bic?
So they're like, they're like pulling it tight. And
Oh my god, yeah,
yeah,
the
Jesus.
bat wing,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Yeah,
not
you
good.
pull it out like
Oh,
a bat
God.
wing.
so
yeah, I'm out. I'm not getting it done now. That,
Just 'cause
just
of the
that
shape?
alone.
Yeah,
I would
just
probably
I'm
go.
good.
I would definitely. What I'm gonna take from this is I'm gonna do my own balls before I go in. Like that's what I'm taking
Yeah.
from your story because it's
You
like
should just do nair and just feel the burn.
yeah, right.
I'm just thinking about like
Whacked.
because remember a few times in my life I've been like stuck somewhere and I've had to use like one of those CVS Bics.
Not good.
Not
Like
a good
it's
day.
No, it's not
it's
good.
like it's just a matter of time before you cut yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like I'm gonna get a shave, but I'm also just gonna bleed a little bit.
Yep.
And yeah, another thing, going back to my dad, was like tighty whities and a fucking steak and one of those fucking things and no hangover. You know what I mean? It was like
Glass of
those
milk.
guys are just real men.
So like I said, what used to crack me up about Soft Boys was that like they would obviously they're both well known in the comedy circle, and you're like kind of I wouldn't say a gatekeeper, but you have access to a lot of.
Yeah,
You're
I've
an
been
older
doing
guy in the industry,
long time,
who's well
yeah.
established, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like I remember being like, it would be like the next week they'd be telling the story, and the next week they'd be like, "We're gonna kind of apologize. Shouldn't have said that last week
Oh,
about this
dude.
specific person." I'm like,
Dude, the
I'm like,
amount of times I always get into trouble on podcasts or something like that because it's just so fun. You feel like you're just like shooting the shit.
totally. Then you're like, the next thing you're like, oh fuck. Like
Yeah.
I did it a couple weeks ago where I was talking about my golf simulator league I'm in, and I'm like, I'm using their real names. I'm like, this kid's a fucking loser,
Dude,
and I'm
I know.
like, I gotta cut this from the fucking episode.
Yeah.
Internet's undefeated. You know what I mean? Plus, it's not fair to that person because they don't have a retort.
No,
like,
and it's like the amount of stuff I've said sort of off the dome, like when I used to do Kumia's podcast, there was like a lot of people listening to it. You know what I mean? You're just like on for 2 hours sometimes, and you're just like trying to be funny.
Right.
Sometimes I'd like say some shit, mix up a couple facts. You know what I mean?
People
It's
come
like-
for your neck.
Yeah, you come right for your throat.
Dude.
You know, and it's like comedians, we don't really let facts get in the way.
yeah.
2 weeks ago, we did a draft for video games, best video games, and
I would have loved to have been there.
it was a good one. And I said a mistake because I had Sega Channel as a kid. Many people did not.
Yeah.
And I said that Crash Bandicoot was on Sega Channel. And let me tell you, the world came for me and they're like, that was a PS1 game.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yeah.
Sega.
it wasn't Sega. What do you kids are fraud. And I'm like, my bad.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. Then it's like everything you've ever said is untrue. yeah. It's
You know
rough.
what? You know what drives me crazy? And this has happened to me twice in the last 3 months. Is that obviously this is not like a massive podcast. Everybody knows that. It's the best, but it's not a massive one. Is that somebody will know that I have a podcast and then
Yeah.
it will get around. It'll be like somebody lives in town and like they've seen a reel or two and they're always drunk.
Yeah.
And they're always like, dude, you should have me on.
Have me on,
And
yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck are you going to
It
do
never
on
gets
there?
old when he says it.
Dude,
'cause
what
I
are you
get it
going
all
to
the
do
time.
on there? You're a fucking loser.
I get it all the time, and I used to even get it on Soft Boys that I'd be like, we never had a guest. We had one guest.
Yeah, you're one
once.
guest.
It was
Yeah,
Carson.
the guy, yeah, Carson.
Carson from Carson in the Morning.
Carson
McKenzie.
Kennedy. Yeah.
And yeah, it was that was like used to make me laugh because I'd be like, so you've never even listened to it, obviously. Because, like,
They've never listened,
Yeah.
but they're like, I heard you have one. Can we talk sports? I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be. Everybody's gonna love that. By the way, let's talk about the Patriots fucking O line.
I do think though, like you guys have survived that like period of time where truly everyone had a podcast. Like I think this is stuck through and is a real podcast now.
Yeah.
But I remember a period of time I was complaining about it on Soft Boys a lot. I was like, every weekend someone wants me to do their podcast. It's like I just don't even have the fucking time for it. You know what I mean?
right,
Like,
yeah.
And it was like sometimes someone would send me like a really nice email and I'd be like, all right, like, I'll do
Yeah.
this, you know, and then I'd go and I'm like, I'm just hanging out with some dude. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Brendan hates it so bad that I saw him eviscerate someone in public.
Oh yeah, I did it to some guy.
He was like,
Good for you.
He was like, when you gonna have me on? He was like, when you get about 1,000 times funnier than you are right now.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And I
Look
was
at
like,
you.
I was like, oh.
I love that.
Well, here's the
World
thing:
star.
the people that
Yeah, seriously.
the
How
people
many-
that say it, they don't listen. So it's like,
It's an annoying thing.
Okay, so
it's one of those like,
Yeah.
put me on. I should be on your podcast. It's like people do that kind of thing, and you're like,
what?
yeah, for what reason? It's just like
Let's-
me kind
Yeah.
of thing.
an example would be like Soft Boys, right? If I was to be a guest on Soft Boys, I know everything about the show.
Yeah.
I know everything. I've listened to every episode, right? So like,
Yeah.
I already know what's kind of happening.
When we stopped doing it, I literally like thought about Brendan. Like when we were like,
Like this
deciding
poor
whether
kid.
to keep the show going or stop, and it was getting to be kind of hard for us to do because Andrew was going on the road a lot, and I was getting married and having
like,
a kid and stuff.
what's this kid gonna
And I
live
remember
for
being
after
like, we got to factor into her. Like,
Let's get into this
Like he
time.
really likes the show, you know.
I gotta.
Give him a signed
And,
Polaroid.
and on like dark days when I was like, this show kind of sucks, but I'm like, but I heard it's a good guy. He likes it.
He likes it.
He's a
Yeah.
fucking real dude.
I loved it, dude. I was all in. I was all in. And I was like, it's funny
You were
because
exactly the type of guy the show was for, though. We were
Yeah.
like trying to be like, you don't have to be such a hard ass all the time.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
we all get fucking a little blue.
go down the dumps. You know what I mean? I was,
It's the end of winter right now.
dude. I
Yeah.
was. I
Jeez,
saw
kill
it.
myself.
Seriously.
Somebody
man.
commented the other day on Patreon because, you know, sometimes like you, I was a Patreon member for you guys. So like sometimes a Patreon episode would be 14 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just get going and then all of a sudden it's like 45.
Yeah, another.
And some
hour.
guy was like, dude, back to back hour Patreons. He's like, keep it up. I'm like, yeah, it's great when it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes it does. We got drunk. I don't usually get drunk on the show. We got drunk on the Christmas episode. And we did like a 2-hour Patreon
was
where I
wild.
basically
That's
doxed
fair.
everybody in my life.
that's
And I'm
great.
like, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm listening back through. I'm like, this has to come down. Like, this has got to come down now. Like, absolutely has to come down now.
Is that the one I saw? Is this the driveway where you fell into on the snow and ice? Was that
I've
you?
fallen here. Like,
put a video up, though,
Oh,
of you.
no, that's my roommate
that-
from
no,
college.
yeah,
Oh, that's a good
That's
video.
my roommate from college, Chris McDonald. The best was that
That was great.
he's from Long Island. Like,
Kicked him up the
Yeah.
barrel.
yeah, he's from Long Island. And like, when I first met him, I'm like, he was like this kind of, he's shorter. He listens to the show, so he's going to be like, fuck you, Mo. But I met him and I'm like, and he'd always be talking to his dad. His dad's name's Gerard, but he calls him J-Rod, and he'd be like, fucking J-Rod's fucking calling me right now, up my fucking ass. He's like, he'd be getting his truck fixed, his dad's paying for it. His dad's an electrician from Long Island, and that's his dad's webcam, or like ring video, and it's him taking his dad's trash in, and I put it up, and then my sister calls me, and she's like, she went to college with us, and she's like, he still swears the exact same. Like, he's like, fuck, and he fucking kicks that fucking thing.
So funny.
It was so fucking awesome. It was great. He was a great guy to hang out with because, like, I love to feed off, like, a little bit of hate.
Yeah.
And this kid just breathes off hate.
Yeah.
Like, he just loves it.
I'm
Gets
the
up.
same way too.
Yeah. It's funnier that way.
You need a little bit of like Irish
Animosity.
people need a little bit of just like someone to fucking shove it in their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's me behind a wheel every single day.
Yeah. That's why, like, I never got along with musicians, even though I played music, is that, like, I'm like, these guys are all pussies. Like, they're all, like, I grew up playing sports, but I sucked at sports.
Yeah.
So then I started playing guitar when I got cut from basketball, and then I would go out and be in these bands, and I'm like, I hate your guts. Like,
Me and Del Volpe all the time have said that you can tell right away, like the comedians that grew up like playing sports and the comedians that didn't.
yeah.
It's like the comedians that did can handle adversity
Yeah.
and other people, and the ones that didn't like can't.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just like if you've been yelled at by a coach, you can get yelled at by a guy that owns a comedy club,
Sure.
and it won't ruin your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It won't like crush your soul. It
Yeah.
crushes your soul when you're 10.
Yeah.
And then your dad tells you, you know, like to suck it up.
Yeah.
You know, you bury that in that deep hole. We bury everything.
Dude, I got a great one.
That hole is deep.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Fuck.
deep.
I don't know if I should tell this right now or on the Patreon. I'll tell on the Patreon.
Speaking of sports, Connor played at the Garden Tuesday night.
Oh yeah, how was that?
It was great.
Yeah.
I was there way too long. I
Yeah,
spent
all
way
day.
too much fucking money.
Yeah.
Because we had to pay for the Bruins tickets too.
Holy
so
shit.
it's four Bruins tickets. We were the last row of the balcony, sitting against the black wall.
Yeah.
And they were still $1.50.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Bruins.
the cheapest
it's no
seat in the
joke,
house.
dude. Cheapest seat is like $150.
Yeah.
And they're not even that good right now,
Per
right?
They're bad. They're not
Yeah.
good. They're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you have? Is it you that has seasons or is it your?
I have seasons
Oh, by
to
the
the
way, this
Sox.
was fucking unbelievable.
Oh,
Like,
to the Sox.
I didn't even think
Sox
about.
is expensive too.
Oh yeah. This is killer.
Dude, I didn't even think about talking about this, but now I've been talking about it because it's fucking hilarious. So when they first started the podcast, they had an intern. What was the kid's name?
Patrick.
Patrick, right? So Will gives him his. He's like, "Hey, do you want my? This is fun. You tell it.
guys
You tell it.
in
It's
guys
fucking
in the
hilarious.
Southeast still come up and
It's
tell
so
me about,
fucking
talk to
funny.
me about this on the street. So Patrick, he was doing well. Patrick's now like an agent in training at like some huge agency in New York City. He's doing well for himself now. But he was our intern on the show, our podcast intern, because we had a producer and they like had him on their staff, so they were like,
Yeah.
"We can have our intern." He was into it. Super nice guy. Like he's coming to Del Volpe's wedding and everything,
Yeah.
you know, this summer. He came over to see the baby. Like I'm still friends with him, you know, but he's like this little shit, like 21 years old in college, you know what I mean? But he was doing a lot of work for us, so I was like, oh, let me give him these great seats to the Sox game tonight. And you know, it was like one of those things where I gave him to him and he was kind of like, oh, thanks. I was like, you know, if you can't go, like I just want him to get used, you know? He's like, no, I go with my buddy, you know? So I text him, like, you know, I'm at home watching the game. Like I watch most Red Sox games. So I'm like, how's the game, you know? He's like, oh, it's great, dude. I'm like, send me a pic. Like take a pic. Let me see it, right? And I actually wasn't even at this point suspicious of anything.
Yeah.
I was just kind of like wanted it. I was maybe gonna like post it or something to the show page, like Pat's like whatever, like we said, because they gave him the tickets like on the show, I think. And then he sends me back like it's first of all it takes like 10 minutes, and then he sends back like the screenshot of like a Snapchat of someone else, and I'm like, this is the most fishy fucking thing in the world, right? There's no way his kid actually is using the tickets right now. Like he thinks I'm this fucking dumb, right? So I tell Del Volpe, I'm like, whatever Pat calls you and says, just go with it. Like, go with it, right? So I call Pat, and I'm like, something happened. He's like, what are you talking about? I go, you know, these are season tickets, dude. I go, like, I don't know what you guys are fucking doing, but, you know, we get, like, strikes, like, for behavior. And he said we got, like, we got a strike for alcohol-related behavior. I was like, if we get 3 strikes in these seats, I was like, my brother's fucking furious. Because me and I was like, my brother's fucking furious. He's screaming at me right now. I'm like, what are you fucking doing? You know? And I can hear the fucking, like, wheels cranking in his mind, like, wow, I could obviously say it wasn't me because I wasn't even there. But then
He's gonna know.
But then he's gonna know like I just didn't even go. So like
So it's tell another lie.
so it's tell another lie. And he kind of got like a half a foot into the other lie. And I was like, Patrick, and we did it on the show.
Yeah, that was the best part.
We
of
did it on the show. And it was like, and I busted him on it. And it was just like a great moment.
fucking awesome.
My brother was in on it. Del
Yeah,
Volpe was
it was-
in
So
on
what
it.
did he do?
He just didn't go.
He just didn't fucking go.
So he didn't
Yeah.
use
He
the
just didn't
tickets?
use
It was
the
like a
tickets.
cold night. It was like an
that's
early
the
game. It was a
worst,
cold
dude.
night.
It was. It was like
Yeah.
it kind of was like a shitty fall game or something like that. But it was just like
He's like,
It would have been
I'm
good
here.
if he was like he sold the tickets and kept them.
Yeah.
That would have been sick.
Yeah.
But just that he just didn't use them.
he just didn't use them
that
at all, you
sucks.
know, or
Yeah.
even give them to his buddies or something. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? I'm like, just give them away. But anyway, it was like he was rattled, like as I was telling him all that stuff. I could see him like turning pale
That's
and
actually
everything.
fucking great.
And then, and he's a great dude. I met his whole family a bunch of times. Like they're awesome. But he, but I was like literally having dinner with my wife in Southie like a couple months ago, and this dude walks by and I see him. He sees me. He turns back. He's like, "You ever have another fucking pair of tickets?" He goes, "Give it to me. I'll go." He goes, "Tell Patrick he's a piece of shit. I'll fucking go. You give me tickets, Noonan." And he, like,
That's the
walks
same thing
up.
as like, hey, put me on the show.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
good
yeah.
for the tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
man.
All right, we got a couple voicemails.
Do we do all the ads yet? How do you feel about the relish situation at Fenway?
I'm not a big relish guy, but if
fuck.
it's,
Because Will Noonan has a brain.
the
but I
fuck?
am a big onion guy, and I miss the onion. The cream.
Yeah.
They got rid of that.
Yep, that's gone.
So that
no
pisses
relish.
me off.
I was at the guy.
I have a
like
lot of
said.
complaints about Fenway.
Oh, it's brutal.
A lot of
It is
complaints.
brutal.
Yeah.
Dude, the guy came over and gave me my Fenway Frank, and I was like, "Can I get relish and mustard?" He's like, "We don't have relish. There's no more."
Oh, they just
relish
got rid of
Got rid
relish.
of
Yeah, it's gone. It's just not there. And
It's
he
not
goes-
there like Patrick
It's like,
and
I was
Fenway.
gonna say, it's
I
like
go,
Mookie
why,
Betts.
I go,
Patrick.
why do you not have relish? He goes, I don't know. They got to pay the ball players more. I was
Jesus
like,
Christ.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's I love that. Put it on the ball players.
Well, this guy
Yeah.
obviously was not being serious.
I
but
love the I love the guys who work at Fenway. I know a lot of them from just going all these years. And I remember I said to this guy, I go, when they first got rid of the cash,
Yep.
that was a fucking horrible year of like everything taking 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
and I go,
It's
How-
more streamlined now.
now it's good.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
when they first
First,
implemented
Everything
it,
is cashless now.
it was
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Yep.
But like honestly, it's fine when you go knowing. But like people were going there kind of like
What the fuck? This is American currency.
yeah. And you
You have to give it to me for free then.
man, people are just so used to passing the money down and all that stuff. And the guy, it was really like the guys themselves, like they were like, we like the cash, man. Like
Yeah.
I can make change. I can probably keep some of it. Like I'm sure it's like it was better for them
For sure.
to like have this wad of cash that
I told this story before. I had that Aramark job
yeah.
when I was 15 and I fucked it up. I was like Patrick and just no-showed.
Yeah.
And I could be.
And I bet you had to like use family
I
connections
knew,
and stuff.
I knew someone who got me in.
Yeah.
And I fucked it up at 15. And to this day, I would still be working there selling beers and probably cash it.
Yeah.
Pocketing.
I mean, they make a lot of money. They
make
work
a ton
hard.
of
Oh,
money.
yeah.
They work hard, but
When
you're
I was
there-
in,
you're in Fenway for every home game and you're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
They work hard though. When I went to Fort Myers for spring training, some of the guys who work concessions at Fenway were down there working concessions.
Really?
They'd be like, I got to get ready for the season too. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, girl,
This is
girl
my
I went,
Spring training.
I was like, holy
For-
shit.
for Aramark.
For them, they were like,
a girl I went to high school with, she started at Aramark and then now she literally works in John Henry's office.
holy shit.
So like she saw me. This is a few years ago. I was with my son in like Centerfield and I put it on like Facebook and she saw it and she's like, call me. And I was like, all right. And
Oh, I remember this.
and so we went up to like the office, like he got to like hold the World Series
Oh,
trophies
yeah,
and she
yeah.
was sick.
When I went
I
last
still
year-
have that. I still have like the connection, but she just totally, she was like, oh, Fitzy? Nope, no chance.
That's what happened. I went last year,
Yeah.
and he was like, he texted her, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm not there. I can't do it, or whatever." She
Fuck
knew it was the
Fitzy.
fucking ginger.
yeah.
Yeah, she knew.
Yeah, I get some good perks over at. I've had some cool tours. Of
Where are your
Fenway and,
where are your seats?
My seats are good. My brother got him first. My rich brother, he got him. He had him for years, and they were just his seats. And then as I got older, he was like, "Hey, you want to like be a man and buy into these instead of just taking half of them and coming every game?" You know what I mean? But they're like 3 rows behind home plate.
Oh,
like,
shit.
They're
Really?
like really nice. They're like,
Wow.
they're
You'll
like
see if you
back
watch
into
the games.
I was
You'll
about to
see
say
Will
that's
on
why
there a
you
lot.
probably said I probably didn't see Patrick at the fucking game.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, well, the thing I do, and I did this with Patrick, like I tell people, they're kind of shitty seats.
Oh
like,
yeah, and then you have him go.
And then they
Yes.
walk in, and it's like the guy is like, and then they're like right up front. It's like it kind of ruins baseball, like. Cause you're like, if I can't like fucking see the stitching on Otani's jersey, like I'm not really watching
Dude.
baseball. You know what I mean?
Like I went to,
You're
I
like
went
addicted to this close up.
Yeah, I got taken to a game by our buddy Buggy, and it was Bill Simmons' seats, and it was right
Wow.
behind the bench. And I'm like, I can never go to a game anymore because
Yeah.
this is fucking unbelievable.
I will say this though. I was as close as both of you guys were once, and there was a TV right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I was literally kind of just like this the whole
Yeah,
time.
that does happen.
So
Yeah.
like to me, my favorite seat that I've ever got, it's a buddy of mine. It's like on the third base line. He's like right after the first fucking thing that you walk by.
Yeah.
First row, seats 1 and 2, bathroom right at the end of the thing. I'm like, this is a perfect setup for an adult.
I was
So,
gonna
you know what I
say,
mean?
like, I've sat a lot of places that I like. I do like I even like the bleachers, like especially center field bleachers. I
Yeah.
think those are like great. But yeah, I mean, it's not. But it's just you get kind of like. I like now. I'm like I can see the pitches. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm like, man, like, once you get into that, it's pretty awesome.
You're like, I could fucking hit that.
Oh, yeah, right.
The only time we've gone in the last couple of years is when someone gives us tickets or like we win tickets or whatever,
Yeah.
and because of how expensive it is. But
It's crazy.
those seats, the exact seats that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
we get them for free from one of our neighbors once in a while.
Yeah.
Usually towards the end of the season, they're like, hey, you want to take the kids, go
Yeah.
for it. We still end up spending fucking $500
Yeah.
just with parking and food and
Yeah,
drinks.
gear and all that
Parking's
shit.
going to be
they-
$100 this year.
They
100%.
always want parking was $70 at the Garden.
Crazy.
I park in
$70.
Brookline and walk.
Well, so
That's the way to do it. But don't do that.
no,
Because that's my spot.
That's my spot. Yeah, it's
It's always better if you have like a parking hookup, but
Do you know the guy Drinkwater? He's
Ronnie Drinkwater.
Yeah.
So
Giant glass, baby.
when we did, so for people listening, he goes there almost every game. He's got the best seat in the house. He's center of like the first row, right behind home plate.
is he the one that looks like
Robert
Robert
Redford.
Redford,
Springer?
yeah. It looks like Robert.
Jerry
Yeah.
Springer?
Yeah, it depends on the angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yep.
I ended up doing a show in Florida. He was in the front row with his wife, and we went down there and did spring training comedy shows for like 2 weeks. It was the best time.
That's fucking sick, dude.
Jimmy Dunn put it together and got we had a house. It was so awesome. They should have filmed it because it was such a good fucking time. But yeah, super nice guy. I mean, he's rich as shit. You know, like those rich people, man. It's like every moment of their life is just like chill. You know, he's like, oh, great to meet you. I'm fucking talking to a comedian now. And, soon I'll be eating some fucking other delicacy. You know what I mean? It's like every moment of the day, like their skin like doesn't even look like they don't even have like a worry. You know what I mean? You can just tell they haven't waited for anything.
Right,
ever. You know, and he was like real nice, and he was real like met us all. And then so I'm like, you know, at Fenway, I'm like 4 rows back to the right of him. So like I'm not really that far from him. So like
You're still a peasant.
yeah, well, big time. But I got my seats. You know, once I bought in, I wasn't just going there with my brother. I was like, I could take my wife. And anyway, so I took my wife to a game, and we're there, and Drinkwater sees us, and he's like, come on. He's like, come on, you sit down here, and sends his like fucking son and like someone else to sit in our seats, and me and my wife got to sit like in
His
with
seats.
him and his wife
Yeah.
for like a couple innings
Yeah.
left. And that's like you're every pitch is you're on TV.
Yeah.
And and you're just kind of like I was like, wow, even this little jump from like
Yeah,
It's
from
huge.
there, from there to the garage door. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what
definitely.
I love about watching him? You ever see a foul ball directly back?
Doesn't budge.
Everyone's like this,
Yeah,
and he's just like
No.
dead face.
My favorite. Are you about to say what I'm going to say?
when he leaves. Is that what you're
Dude,
gonna say?
when
Yeah,
Manny
yeah.
smashes a home run, the minute that ball hits the bat, he gets up and walks out because he wants to beat traffic.
I'll watch him at games. Like I'm like, this guy's sense for like if the Sox have a chance is
yeah.
like he will believe sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, if he's just like that.
Yeah.
I mean, no, and the funny thing about season tickets, like by the end of the season, you're like, I might have seen too much baseball this year.
Yeah.
Like I'm like the last time you walk in, it feels like work a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
like this doesn't happen to me in years now that I'm like married and stuff. But when I was like I remember there was like a couple of years where it was like I felt like I like worked at Fenway Park. I was just always there, and they were great years, but it was kind of funny. I don't even remember what the fuck I was saying. I just trailed off into
That's where, so the season ticket holder neighbors that I have, they give us the tickets. And like I said, it's usually towards the end of the year. I think they're just tired of it.
That's what happens. You're like driving in and parking.
It's not a banner year. So they know that they're not making the playoffs. They're not a competitive team. And they're like, did I just jog your memory?
You just jog your memory.
See, that's show business,
Dude,
baby.
Fitzy's like... He knew what to do too. He's like, let me take the gum out of this guy's mouth and just chew it for him for a little while, and then he'll be all right. No, I was gonna say, so this guy Drinkwater, he does this thing sometimes where he won't fully leave the park. He'll get up from his seat, but then he goes into the tunnel there, like underneath.
It's a TV.
And looks at the TV.
Yeah.
So a lot of times when I'm calling it quits and leaving, I'll see him like just kind of keeping one eye on that TV, almost like one step towards the.
When that guy kicks the bucket, his wake is going to be at Fenway, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I guess the deal was, like Giant Glass was one of the biggest sponsors, and they got sold. And part of his deal to like sell the company was like, I will sell you the company, but I'm keeping my season tickets that came with the. That came with the deal originally. Those were supposed to be like for life or something like that. So he's like, that's written into the thing. So that's awesome.
I always love rich guys. Like I watch a bunch of like I'm big into music. So like I'll see like Vince Gill, like all the guy does spend his money on is like the best guitars ever.
Yeah.
And it's like Maggie's mom's friend, he was like the first importer of Schlage locks to America. And like all he did was like move up seats in the at the Celtics until he's on the court.
Yeah.
So he splits his seats now with Donnie Wahlberg. And like when I met him, I'm like, because I'm a huge Celtics guy, I'm like, I know exactly who he is. Maggie's like, oh, this is, whatever, and introduced me to him. And I'm like, dude, if I was ever like had money, like that's what I do. He's like, that's what I did. He's like, all I did was I was just like, I want fucking to be on the floor. Like that's all I cared about. He's like, I go to every game. He goes, if I can't make a game, he's like, I give him to somebody, but like I pretty much make 85% of the games, 90%. He told this hilarious story where he's from Medford and he was trying to, it was when they were playing LA. It was when they won the championship. So he's like, so I'm talking to my buddy, guy I know, and he's like, I'm like, I want to sit on the floor at the Lakers game. And he's like, all right, well, listen, and before this, he wasn't splitting the tickets with Donnie Wahlberg at that point. He just had 4. So he was like, all right. He's like, well, Penny Marshall will split with you. You go out to her, and then she'll bring you go get her, go pick her up, and she'll take you to the LA game. You take her to the Boston game. So he's like, I'm looking for a house, and I call my buddy.
It's like Laverne and Shrew.
Yeah. He's like, I call my buddy, and I'm like, hey, I think I'm in front of her like house. It's all gated communities, I'm sure. And the guy's like, wait, are you driving? He's like, yeah, I rented like a BMW. And the guy's like, you didn't get a limo to pick up Penny Marshall? He's like, I don't know. He's like,
I would have done the same thing.
He's like, she gets in. It's clear that it's not my car. Like, he's like, she just chain smoked the entire way to the fucking game. He's like, she's a fucking bitch. He's like, let me just say that. She's a fucking bitch. I love that though. He's like, it's classic, like Boston guy. No matter how rich they are, they're like, some guy's like, you fucking idiot, like you didn't fucking get a limo for this woman. You know?
always find the Boston guy at the hotel because he's swimming in gym shorts. It's always the Boston guy. He's like, they're good enough.
They're fine. They're not pants showering.
All right, so real quick, we got the comedy show coming up. Mix on Mics.
Yeah, dude.
Will is headlining. Paul Gilligan, Danny, Jeff Clow, Nolan Baker's gonna be up there a little bit. Sean Bryan Jr.
Yep.
Maybe Sean Bryan Sr. will be there. He was there last year.
Yeah, I'll probably have 4 fucking tables.
Yeah, probably. It's gonna be an awesome time. It was a blast last year. We had a fucking blast.
Great time.
Real quick, couple ads, then we'll do a couple voicemails, and then we'll do a quick Patreon. We'll get Will out of here. Right now, my neighbor Ryan Hurd is sweating in his living room, being like, "I gotta go on this podcast."
You think he's in his mirror right now, just going?
He's probably pregame.
I mostly want to have him on because I was like, "Dude, well, you'll have a couple light beers. You're gonna be okay. Like, relax, Because they do that impression of him. I mostly want to have him on so people like.
Can't wait.
When he was, I told the story before. When I always do this impression of him. He talks like in this like
it's hilarious,
very certain way, intellectual almost. And when he came over to my daughter's, we had guys that listen to the show catered my daughter's graduation party.
Whoa.
And he walked in and he's like, "Hey, Brendan, what's up?" The guy's like, "Is that Ryan Hurt?" He's like, "Holy fucking shit." I'm like, "Yeah, perfect." Tedco, by the way, Ted's building your house, right?
Yeah, addition being done right now as we speak.
Yeah. 617-996-6827.
Yep.
Get in bed with Ted, as I like to say.
When did they start that?
2-3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Is that letting in a draft?
Say it again.
Is it letting in like a cold draft?
No, they haven't broke through the wall yet. So it's a.
What do you think I said?
It's a, I don't know.
He was
Did you
like,
buy a giraffe?
Gibberish. It's a master suite above the garage. So they're building.
Oh,
that,
okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah.
haven't broke through the wall. Yeah.
I like those. I like the wind. He's got the windows looking out over the garage.
got windows, yeah.
I'm
It's a regular room.
Big windows guy.
These
It's a
days.
regular room. It's got
That's what I'm
windows.
into. I'm
That
into
was like
windows.
literally. You can tell I'm a new homeowner because I'm like got windows.
Kind of Stanley windows.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys, do
listen.
you guys splurge for the windows?
Yeah, to go with the windows, or is it just going to be a dark room?
No,
No, we're
windows.
just fucking
guys
developing
are-
film in there.
You guys are-
Oh, you guys are those people who like sunlight.
Yeah, we're
okay,
photographers,
yeah,
so
I like
we
that,
didn't
all
fuck
right.
with the windows.
Ben Franklin Print Company. So we just gave Will a sweatshirt before. By the way, get the last large in the limited edition.
Yeah.
Finally, something cool sweatshirt. It's a great hoodie.
Everyone's wearing them.
Everybody loves it. Matt West got followed around to fucking Target the other day by some guy who's like, "What is it? Where do I get that?" It's like you can't
Yeah,
anymore.
I can't. Sorry.
Actually, we do have a few XLs.
You don't
So
want to
have
get
one of
followed
them.
by a guy in
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah, yeah. We have two XLs. We have XLs, 2XL, a couple 2XL, and one 3XL.
Okay.
So if you want one, reach out. As usual, I'm going to be a pain in the ass about connecting with you. But 978-624-7341. Tell them you pulling the cork. They'll give you 10% off. They'll design everything for you. They gave us like 4 designs for that, and then like we chose whatever. They do awesome. They do everything for us. The golf tournament shit, everything. And then lastly, Success Lift. By the way, I'm doing great. I mean, I keep losing weight so fast. Nobody can even fucking. I tell you what, the key is the Success Lift, though. My buddy Brian Panuzzo, my roommate from college, we're all the group chat. You can hit us up at pullingthecork1 at Gmail, and you can get in there. Everybody's dropping pounds, all right? We're not about trying to get jacked. We're about trying to live longer to drink more.
Are you now I know why you're growing this beard.
Yeah.
This beard's like he's gonna get skinny, and then it's like the big reveal.
There's a big
Shaves-
reveal. Yeah,
Shaves the
100%,
beard
yeah.
off to be like, look at my
1,000.
new skinny fucking face.
Yeah.
I thought it was the opposite. I saw you online with the beard. I'm like, oh, he's really packing it on. I was like, oh, the beard is always the sign of like, it's either guys start going bald, they grow their beard. They're like, I just need some control over something. Or it's like, I do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you see me in a commercial with a beard, you're like, oh shit, he couldn't lose those 10. Couldn't shake off those 10 Bud Light pounds quick this time.
So all right. So listen, we loved having you.
Voicemails.
15. Oh, we gotta do voicemails, but 15 minutes Patreon, something
Yeah,
like that.
hell
You go for
yeah.
that?
Sounds like I just got fired a little bit. I loved having you here, but we're just not really in the mood right
Well, I
now.
mean,
We'll call you.
Yeah. Well, I thought you'd be better, but you can.
No, it was great.
You're welcome back
Very-
anytime
yeah,
you
very
want.
funny, very
So
funny.
Capo on Wednesdays.
Capo
right?
on Wednesdays.
How's Wednesday look this week? You already have a full slate?
I mean, I usually do, but if you want to come down,
would
we'd
love
always
to.
get you on. Yeah,
I'd
come on
love to.
down.
I gotta get back in the ring.
Yeah, come on.
You want to
in,
know
man.
how you make something happen? You ask somebody really on the spot.
I give you credit for that. I was like, I thought that.
By the way, that was awesome.
You always post the set list.
Yeah.
7 minutes, 7 minutes,
Yeah.
7 minutes.
Yeah, it's become
That dude,
Danny Gillis.
I
It's
used to
become a
three.
thing.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah.
Three.
So I'm like, I
Keep
told
it tight, Danny.
Guys get mad. I have sometimes they have too many people. I have to decide who's going to do 5. It's just a
I
2
saw that,
minute
yeah,
difference, and
yeah.
people will be like one,
you.
yeah.
Dude,
I don't think I would ever get mad
you,
at
Will.
that.
I know. I seen
No,
guys.
I mean, if you're up there,
People don't realize how often I sacrifice my own time for
Right.
stuff like
Sure.
that too.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
Well, I was listening to Soft Boys all the time, so I'm listening to him bitch about like fucking he's
yeah.
like respect the lights. So Danny we got on. I'm like, watch that fucking light, dude.
Yeah.
I'm like, you better watch.
I've
that fucking-
gotten a little bit more like because there's just so many more comedians now
Yeah.
than even there were like maybe even last year or 2 years ago. It's like
Yeah.
never seen so many. So I've had to be a little bit more like sort of direct with some
Yeah.
people and be like, listen, you're just not ready yet.
Yeah.
Or like, listen, like
Sure.
go take 6 months and come back. Like
Yeah.
because it's just not. If you go up there and it's so bad, you know, like we had this one kid, nice guy, but he had he couldn't. I remember going, hey, you know, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's bad. Like we'll get you back in a couple months, and the guy was like, I don't know if I ever want to do it again. He was like, he goes, that was like a whole lot. That was like a whole lot to go through up there. And I was like, all right, yeah. I kind of laughed.
Do you still have that same DJ?
Oh yeah, Johnny Dow. He's one of my closest friends. We've become like we're really good friends.
So when I did Capo, he went up to me and Sean O'Brien. He's like, dude, you two got it. You fucking got it. Like the music's off and it's just me. He's like, tell fucking Will. So every week I want to see you guys. He asked, like, he was like,
Will's
hey,
like, shut the fuck up.
He's like, what song do you want to come out to? I go, is this the Royal Rumble?
Johnny's one of my closest buddies.
He's a great dude.
The best dude to drink with because that's him drunk. Like him when he's
gasses you up.
Oh, dude, he's like pumps your tires. Like he's like, you're the fucking best. You know, like he just is like positivity.
Yeah.
You know,
I love doing that because it's like, what the fuck is like? Is it anything better than when somebody tells you like that they like what you're doing?
I do it when I'm like drunk. I go on Instagram and leave like comments on people's shit. Like, this is fucking awesome.
So now we know.
When I'm drunk, I'm wicked loose with my likes on Instagram. I'm just like
loose with my likes.
I'm like hot this, hot that, hot this, scroll hot.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck was I liking?
Dude,
my algorithm's all fucked up.
One time, I think the last time I drank, I donated to a kid's YouTube channel. I was like shit-faced watching YouTube videos, and I clicked on a live one, and there was this kid working at 7-Eleven. And he was like, I work at fucking 7-Eleven, man. And I was literally like, he was talking about his diet. He was like, I basically eat shit that like we have at 7-Eleven. He's like, I drink like Monster Energy drinks, and I eat like, it was like candy, you know? And he's like, he looked like shit. And I literally paid like $5 to like get my shit like on, you know how like it's like on screen.
Super chat or something.
And I literally wrote, you have to eat some fruits and vegetables though. Just some.
Throwing a veggie.
Like, and then like, it was literally like one of those things like, you're like, next morning you're like making breakfast. You're like, did I fucking tell a kid working at 7-Eleven in Southern California to eat more vegetables? Like, what is wrong with me? You know what I mean? But
the best is, right, that was probably his only donation. He's like, this fucking Will guy gets it.
I was gonna say, like, it's not a bet. It's not like there's worse things, you know? Like, what, you know what I used to really do was, I was a real bastard for this when I would get shit faced and like crash at like a friend's house. Like I come home, you know, we'd all come home from college or something like for the weekend, and we'd all go out, get drunk, and you'd end up like sleeping at like your friends. I used to get drunk and sleep in my friends' basements and order porn on like cable. like the $30
spice like block,
like $30, $30.99 like softcore porno movie that was on like, you know, the cable station.
Yeah.
And that
Girls Gone Wild.
hammered. Probably couldn't even beat off, but I'd give it like a shot.
Whiskey dick.
Yeah, and then fall asleep and like it'd be like 2 months or a month later I get a call like in New York City being like, dude, did you fucking order like lesbian skanks 42 at my mom's house? And I was like, no.
Talk to your father yet?
I must have done that like 3 times. And when I lived in Queens, I had roommates and we had cable. And we used to know, we were all like drinkers. We were like roommates, actor buddies. We were all blacking out all the time. And we would get the cable bill and we'd decide who had to pay based on like what it was. They'd be like, all right, it's lesbians. That was Will. They'd be like, but if it's an ebony chick, we know that's Bennett. Because he likes the black chicks.
Dude, my buddy worked at Comcast. Actually, I'm not gonna use his name, but he's from Milton. I'll maybe drop it afterwards. But he worked at Comcast, and his favorite part about working there was like he would look up semi-famous Boston people and what they wanted for porn.
Oh, dude.
So he'd be like Doc Rivers. He'd be like all white, kid. All white all the time.
I love that. I worked at this is one of the cool jobs I had when I only lived in LA for 1 year. It was the year before I started doing stand up. It was my last year trying to be an actor only when I lived in LA. I got a job at the Hustler store on Sunset Boulevard where, you know, it's like a big retail store but also sells porn.
Yeah.
And I met a lot of famous people when I worked there, and I sold them porn. I sold Billy Joe from Green Day.
Yeah.
A stack of videos. Like, so I feel like I can say this.
Sure,
It's been like so long.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's nothing bad, you know what I mean? But we had this thing. This was 2003.
Yeah.
So it was the end of VHS and the beginning of DVD. So Hustler store had this thing where they were like, if you like buy 1 VHS, we'll give you like 6 free.
Yeah.
Just to get them out of our fucking store. So he comes in And he's like, I just want to buy a couple like VHS tapes. And I'm like, but Billy, like you get 6 free. And then I was kind of like, and I'm psyched. I'm a huge Green Day fan. Like,
Yeah.
I'm meeting like one of my childhood heroes here. But I've also been in
So
LA a little
important.
while and I've met some famous people. So I'm kind of trying to like play it cool, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Get his hand on his shoulder.
he goes,
Give me a bill.
I go, well, first of all, let me ask him, like, why tapes? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Why? We got DVDs, you know? He goes, no, I really like the tapes. Like, he's like, I just like the whole pause, rewind. He's like, I just like it, you know? So I was like, oh, okay. And he was kind of like taking this, like, this route of like, I'm kind of like, you know, I'm like, it's not just for jerking off. Like,
The art of it.
It's kind of like some culture here.
Yeah.
And but I'm following around. That was kind of like my job. When a celebrity came in, it was kind of like your job to like be like to like personal shop with them. It was like
Yeah.
basically like, where do you want? I'll help you find it. You know what I mean? And so that was the part I remember. I mean, he was buying like, you know, porn star pornos. Like maybe there's the stars of the day, like Jenna Jameson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the kind of stuff he was buying.
Yep.
But I'm trying to convince him. I'm like, dude, but you get 6 free. Like, so you're buying these 3. You could be walking out of here with, you know, 20, what is it? 18. Thank you. Right? And he just kind of is saying no, you know what I mean? And it's just like the broke actor in me is like, do you understand? Well, like you're leaving on the table.
He thought you were getting commission.
He
That's
literally
what it was.
goes, he goes like, he basically finally was like, hey man, like, I don't know if you know, I'm in Green Day, I have like millions of dollars. He's like, I could buy, I couldn't. He's
I
like,
could buy
I
this
ju-
whole store.
He's like, I just want these like 4. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right.
I'll take the extras.
I was like, they'll help you out. I don't have to register.
They'll ring you up.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong.
I had a buddy who went in and bought a flashlight. And he went in and the guy was like, he's like, I was just like, I gotta fucking try this thing and see what it's all about. So he goes in, he's like, so I'm already feeling kind of fucking weird being in there buying a flashlight. And this buddy might be sitting here right now at this table. No, I'm just kidding. But the guy's
Oh,
like,
I've had
the
one.
guy's like, guys got the flashlight. He goes, hey, before you stick your dick in it, there's like a plastic pipe inside of the flashlight, so don't try it with
Take
it.
it
in.
out.
And he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and I just immediately wanted to like just cry. Like, like fucking, what the fuck am I doing right now in my life? Hey, bud, take that fucking pipe out of there
Yeah.
before you stick
Once
your
you
dick
heard
in
the
there.
warning that comes with it,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like it's like a gremlin. It's like the thing from Gremlin. It's like don't get it wet after
Don't be-
midnight or
Don't be another statistic. Don't cut your tip on that fucking pipe.
Good Lord.
You know what? I remember something you said on Soft Boys about what your wife used to say about like one of her friends from college. She's like, oh yeah, she's like, this girl's got a dark passenger. Like,
Oh, yeah,
like
that's
me
a
and,
big
like,
one, the
she
dark
gets-
passenger.
She gets a little dark like late at night, and like the fucking evil twin comes out.
Yeah, the blackout. We still use that a lot. Like
Yeah.
like the dark passenger is taken over.
Yeah.
When like the black because we have this one specific friend and when she at every wedding she like just hits a limit.
Yeah.
But like you know how everyone acts different when they're like blackout. Her blackout thing is like she goes to the bar and orders triple shots. Or like triple, you know, doubles and triples and stuff. It's like she'll disappear and she'll just be like down and hard stuff like when no one's looking. And then it's like really not it's her husband's problem. Like her husband's the one who's always like, no, you know what I mean? But we always are on the lookout for her. You can like see it. It's like a
Yeah. It reminded me because I remember I was out with some guy and he was like, this girl was there and he's like, this girl's like a fucking gremlin. He's like, pour water on her after fucking, or feed her after midnight. It's fucking over, you know? All right, we got a couple voicemails.
I guess the show ends when these guys are texting though.
No.
Everybody.
I know, is that rude or what?
I don't think so. But
Better be about your kids. They
some
better be
comedians
sick or something.
get
Always.
really upset when people in the crowd are doing it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man.
I mean,
I was like, people just got to do what they got to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
On the clock. This is Mike the Ironworker,
Oh shit.
not Josh the Ironworker. Mike the Ironworker. Good segment on the show would be top things you thought were going to be amazing that led to disappointment.
Fleshlight.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, we could litigate that on a future show. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's a good topic. Actually, Marias gave you a good topic the other day too.
he did.
Yeah. Also, Stevie Suda is going to be on the show. This is Danny's buddy. He wants to be on the show. He
He's
doesn't-
one of those guys.
So he doesn't listen to the show. I know he doesn't. But now I'm like, no, you got to come on now. I want to see if he can fucking handle it. So I want to come up with a bunch of fake things like that we do on the show that we don't do on
like
the show.
gimmicks.
Yeah,
yes.
I'd be like, all right, now's the time when we do this. And he's like, and I'll be like, you don't even fucking listen to the show, dude? Like, you don't know this?
Oh,
people?
you should
He
do
will
it.
sweat rockets, dude.
Dude.
It's gonna be great.
It's going to be great.
We
Yeah.
should do tell him you have like a dog collar, like an electric
Yeah.
dog collar.
I'm gonna shock you.
You know, I've seen doing radio. I was on a show where a guy had like the dog collar on, and I forget what it was. It was like something like every time he spoke, if you like, it was like for barking. So they would like tickle him, and he'd have to like be quiet. And if he made a noise, it would shock him. And I was like sitting there going like, "What the fuck am I doing?" It's like 7:30 in the morning.
You're like, fucking 15 years ago, I was selling VHS tapes to fucking Billy Joel Armstrong.
Do
You know
you
what I
know I
mean?
sold porn to the guy who wrote When September Ends?
I lived a life for this.
Yo.
All right.
Long rip.
Excuse me.
He's the best.
We're here on the patio underneath the stars. And we just want to let the boys know what's going down. It's been a while. It's been a long time. But I figured you
been
guys should
7
be
days.
the first ones to know since you've always been there.
Vibe. I like this guy's vibe.
Is no longer no more. And that Nastic Lake Country Club officially over and done with. Where we going and what we doing next? Only we don't know, but we do. We're too bad at a drug stuff. Stay tuned and keep that quality high. Patty stay coming in here. Ha.
Kid smokes a lot of weed.
Loves the weed.
Wow,
Right.
so no more than
He's like, it's been a long time, and it's like Danny said, he calls in every week.
Every
so.
single week.
I smoke a lot of weed. Since having the kid, I've tripled.
Well, it's easier than drinking. 'Cause you don't have
Oh no, that's the thing. And we the house we got, it's literally there's a weed dispensary like around the corner. It's so dangerous, but yeah, it's way easier.
Yeah.
I don't smoke like I might take a hit during the day if I work out or something, but mostly after. It's like as soon as that fucking I see she's asleep in the baby monitor, I'm like in the garage, chiefing it.
I remember
Shit,
like
speed smoking, you know.
last summer there was like we played this gig at this maybe I should whatever, I'll just say it. We played this gig somewhere and this other band was there and it was like they're like an adult band. Like
They play porno.
yeah. It was Billy Joel Armstrong. But it's like this adult band. The girl's the lead singer and so
What does that mean, adult band?
like being like a dad band. Like all the people who live in this area
I got
that
you. I
weren't
got you.
friends because of music, just met through like that.
Right.
So they were like, they do a porch fest. So like I did it for my buddy and this other band was there. And I saw her like out somewhere and I was like, oh, you guys were great. You know, they weren't in bands. Like it was like more, and I'm like, and then she just starts fucking, dude. I'm like, she's like, so here's our problem with our drummer right now. And I'm like, dude, if I wanted to have 6 beers with my wife, I'd just go home. You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? Like she's just going, verbal diarrhea. I like playing the old Fleetwood Mac stuff. But a lot of people, I'm like, make this end. Just make this fucking end. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you must get a lot of that in comedy where people are just like,
oh, dude. Yeah. Well, my wife will always tell you, it's like when I go someplace else, like I go to a lot of I go to like 2 or 3 weddings a year on my wife's side, like my wife's from the South, like she went to Virginia Tech, so I've been to weddings in like Tennessee and like Louisville and all these like places, and it's just like I just give interviews about comedy from like the second my foot hits the fucking dirt until it's over. Yeah, and I honestly like don't mind, but it's just like anytime my wife can't find me at a wedding, she's just like knows I'm in the corner with some dude who's like. You know, like listen to Joe Rogan or something. Yeah. Like, they're like, why aren't you on Rogan? Yeah. You know? And I like don't mind doing it, but it's like that's like I'm just drinking.
Yeah. Well, it's like anything else. You're just talking about work. It's like so. It's like the difference is that most people's jobs aren't interesting. So
well, I was gonna say like I never get upset because I'm like if I meet someone like I've worked with like magicians and I get a lot of questions for them. You know what I mean? It's like a weird fucking job that I don't know anyone else who does it. So a lot of times I'm like. People ask me questions like, I might be the only comedian they ever talk to in their whole life. Sure. So it's like, I'm happy to answer the questions. You know, my dad was a cop, so it was kind of like people always interested in his job too. So I kind of get it. But I used to sit there, like my brother's a lawyer, my dad's a cop, and I'm a comedian, and people are always telling us like about our own jobs. You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what would crack me up is that like, because this definitely happens here. Is that like for example, like actually Jonathan Moraes had a great idea for a draft, right? That's awesome, right? But like when somebody's like says you're like, this would be a good bit. It's like
the best is a lot of times what happens, I'll say something funny And people will be like, you should do that.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, I will.
Well, I have to say, and I'm not going to air it out, but like when we talked on the phone about setting up the thing, you were telling me some story about when you bought your house.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, that could be a fucking unbelievable.
I know
fucking-
that one's a tough one because the guy is like a real guy. He, like comes around.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
one day.
Maybe we could talk about it on the Patreon.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, cool. All right, listen, Will will be there. By the way, you can go on our link on Instagram. The link's there to buy tickets. Talked to Sean last
gonna be
night.
fun.
Yep.
They've
Can't
sold
wait.
a bunch of tickets already.
Yep.
Anthony
Tables.
Bourdain's gonna
Yeah.
be there.
Yeah, we're gonna wake Anthony Bourdain at this thing. Paul Gilligan. It's gonna be fucking great. It's gonna be a fucking great.
Gilly.
night. Yeah.
Is there?
All right, awesome. So we'll be back. So we're recording back-to-back shows. So what you'll hear is what comes next with Ryan Hearn. By the way, I'm hoping Ryan
What you'll
walks
hear
in.
is what comes next,
It's
motherfucker.
deep.
Yeah.
I'm hoping when Ryan walks
Tattoo.
in while Will's here, and when we finish, we're gonna be like, "This guy's a professional comedian. You're on next." Like, it's gonna be a tough fucking.
Oh, good lord.
As Bob C would say, it's a tough paper route. Somebody's gonna do it.
Yeah, Brandon's like, you gotta do my podcast. I got my neighbor on. I got the guy I met at the deli last week on.
It's a smorgasbord of unimpressive people. All right, thank you very much. Peace.